hello, and this is Unscrambled Minds. I am Sister Freedom. It is Juneteenth. We are here. We're here. Ladies, introduce yourselves.
Peace and love, everyone. It's Dulcinea.
Peace, family. It's Nisha.
Shibin Hotep family, I'm Sakina Ra.
All right, peace and freedom. Woo! So we are going to talk about Juneteenth, and we're going to talk about how it became Juneteenth, and of course, who got it started. Dulcinea, I want you to take the pleasures of introducing the particular person and talking a little bit
Yeah.
about it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, so it's happy Juneteenth to everyone. I hope everyone can hear me okay. So yeah, we just wanted to go into like the origins. We talked a little bit about the origins of how Juneteenth started, but we wanted to go more so into how it became a federal holiday because I don't think a lot of people know the origins of that. So um,
You okay? Can you hear me, Dulcinea? Because she's riding back home.
you know that link I showed you earlier.
Say it again.
Do you have that link I showed you earlier
Yes.
that broke it down?
Mm-hmm.
Can you share that on the screen really quick?
I don't think I can. I think you'll have to do it. Can you? Can you do it from your phone?
No, not from my phone. No.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Well, let's see. Because I never downloaded it to my, it's on my,
Phone. No
yeah.
problem. Well, for those that didn't know, Opal Lee, she's a teacher, an activist that actually went and walked from Texas to Washington, D.C. so she could protest and make it a federal holiday. She did this in beginning in 2016. And by 2021, Biden did sign to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. So she was born in 1926 in Marshall, Texas. And she actually went to my alma mater, University of North Texas. It was North Texas State at that time. But I think I mentioned it the last Juneteenth as well, is that when they were just ending segregation in the University of North Texas, they had the black students have their own dormitorium or just student living 5 miles from the actual campus. So they would have to walk 5 miles there and back each day. And for our Juneteenth celebration in Denton, we would actually do that walk that they did and have the Juneteenth celebration where they'd had their student living. So I think it's really cool, especially having someone that was from North Texas and she was such a proponent. And yes, she did that walk at 89 years old. 89 years old.
Wow.
2 miles a day. And she said that the experience of how long it took for that information to get from Washington, D.C. down.
You went out. Oh, wow. Let me see if I can play it. Because you went out, Dulcinea. Dulcie.
yeah, she on mute.
It was amazing to me because the woman
No, I'm
walked.
still here. I muted myself. I was saying for you guys to say what you think from here.
No, but you had cut out. You didn't finish what you were saying. That's what I'm saying. You didn't
Oh,
finish what you.
I asked, what do you guys think about her being 89? I asked, what do you think about her being 89 and doing that walk?
Yeah,
Amazing.
exactly.
Just prove that mother can do anything, all things. That was amazing. That was amazing. She walked 2 miles a day, correct? 2.5 miles or 2 miles a day until she got to Washington.
Yeah.
Am I correct to say that?
Yeah,
Yes.
2.5 miles a day and got there.
Oh, she, man, she's amazing. And just think again, a woman, Juneteenth. I want us to give her a hand.
Come
Man,
on.
we gotta give her a hand.
Yeah.
A woman. The inspiration, the love, the power that she did this. You
I
know,
thought.
also in
Go
Texas,
ahead.
in Texas, it was a young lady who overheard her masters talking about them already being free. Excuse me. So she went and got her daughter and let everybody know that they were free, and she escaped. Do you know that the masters was still trying to get her? And they knew that they was free. The masters knew that the slaves were free. And they were still trying to come for her after she escaped, after she heard them saying they was free. She's like overheard them. That part. It's always a woman. Now I tell you, it's
Absolutely.
always
And
a
let me
mama.
oh, hold on.
Always a mama. So I'm just saying, this is a wonderful day. This is the final day. I think that the slaves were finally, even though they had started being let free like 2 years before then. But they fought the war and all that, trying to keep the slaves and all that kind of stuff.
It was government had officially made it free. We know that there was still slavery after that fact because people
Right,
weren't listening or trying to fight against it. But it was still just that official that it was free.
right, right. This. I'm telling you, this is a very, very, very special day. This is a day that we as a people should fight for our jobs to let us off on this day.
Yeah.
We really should. Like
I
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
that I remember Brother La, Salaam
that
alaikum, was saying that he don't get
she
off
didn't
today.
want she didn't want Juneteenth to just be about partying and festivals. She wanted to be about learning, about us coming together and uplifting each other. So I have the quotes here.
Say it
Yeah.
again. She said she has the post.
Mm. I don't know. I think she cut out again.
Okay. Yeah, so Sakina, I did cut you off. What was you about to say?
One, I wanted to state that I also thought that was amazing about this lady and making that walk. But I also wanted to say that I also felt that it was almost like a bucket list thing that she wanted to also finish out, because I almost felt like she was part of that Martin Luther King walk, or one of those walks for that bus. When they was doing that walk for the bus, part of that
Montgomery bus
yeah, the
boycott.
Montgomery boycott walk, and it was another walk that they also did other than that walk. It was two separate walks, not the Million Man March walk, but the Montgomery walk, and it was a different walk also that they also did. So Martin Luther King was a part of two walks prior to the walk about the Montgomery bus walk, right? And so that other walk included Otis Redding and somebody else. If y'all
Is
ever,
it the walk they did from Selma to Washington D.C.?
it could have been, it might have, it could have been, but it could have been that walk, because again I said Otis Redding and Otis Redding, Muhammad Ali, and I believe Malcolm X. Those two were really close, but I believe this is when Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X kind of got close too. So those two were absolutely close, but I think Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X became close somewhere along the line with that as well. So I believe that might have been the walk. But yeah, so I felt like
There
she
she
might have been part
go.
of that bucket list walk, and that made it even
Peace,
more
love,
incredible.
God.
But again, when we were talking to Brother La on that last time we talked about this, I looked up a lot of states. So I had pulled up some information and noticed that it's only about 20 states in America that recognizes
I thought
Juneteenth
it
as
was
a
more than
national.
that.
It's only
28, I think. It's
it's
about
about 20. Is it 28? 20,
20
the
about
28 states that actually recognize the national holiday. And maybe it's 28 that get paid for this national holiday, but it's they don't all notice it for or recognize it for a national holiday. And it's even less. So that's one of the things that we really need to reach out and do more for and more of as far as conscious awareness, because just like it took 2 years and a little bit more to spread out that conscious awareness about Juneteenth being the actual day that slaves were free. It took 2 years for them to even know they were free. It's even less people that know it's a national holiday.
Yes.
So I mean, look how
So
many
ask
people
them
it
what
is
Juneteenth
now.
even is.
So yeah, so even just for religious preferences, national preferences, however we want to claim it, it's ours to claim. And it's more people that's not of our race that's proclaiming this day off and taking advantage of this day off.
That
You
part.
know what I'm saying? So yes,
So
we
we
need
definitely need
we
to.
need to make some notifications about our classifications about this day in particular. We can't keep letting stuff get swept under the rug because Father Day Massacre, unfortunately, and I want to address it just as Father Day Massacre. We keep talking about these deadbeat dads, and we got these no name moms out here, right, setting up these deadbeat dads, and so you want to call them. But I seen a couple of articles where some stuff was going down at a school somewhere down south, and them about 40 dads showed up, and they've been standing there righteously to make sure that their kids stay safe, and they've been there every night, every day, paroling and patrolling to make sure their kids stay safe. And these dads are on duty. They saying no, not no more. And then you had Father's Day weekend, and these fathers and the families, and most of them are fathers getting popped off. You see, so yeah, it's getting bad out here. So it's one thing to be a deadbeat dad, but it's a whole nother thing for a dad not to be there entirely.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, and we definitely want to say Happy Father's Day to all the fathers that
Yes,
celebrate
happy
every
Daddy's Day. Happy Daddy's Day to the daddies out
Yes.
here.
Yes, because my last
Yes.
statement, and then I'm gonna let the floor go. Because I made a post, I believe, in 2018, and you know how Facebook remind you of stuff that you say. And in 2018, I must have put on there. I said, "Happy Father's Day to the men that are fathers in their children's life, and for those who not, Happy Sunday."
Oh,
Exactly.
okay. All right.
That's
Oh, you
tough.
saying, oh, you saying for those who weren't in the children's life didn't deserve that cooked meal?
I just
That
said right. I
okay.
just said
I
Happy
just didn't
Sunday.
know. I just thought I'd ask
Right.
because
So you know.
some
So
people
happy
think just
Father's Day for
because
the
we got
ones that's
Facebook
fathers. And if you wasn't a father, I just said happy Sunday. Right? And then now look at it.
you unscrambled mind girls always got something smart to say.
Exactly. And with that, I'm gonna yield the floor.
I know that's right. Happy Daddy's Day.
Happy Father's Day,
Hey,
belated,
hey, Nepal.
belated.
Nepal is in the house, y'all. Hey, Nepal. How you doing, girl?
Peace, Sister Nepal.
All right. So we need to be happy that it was a woman who put forth and made sure that this was a Juneteenth for us. I'm just so excited about just hearing that part. That part alone just gives me chills, just gives me thrills. I'm just saying, I love it. I love it. I love it.
But also, I'm gonna get, and I have the quotes up, but I want to make sure it's clear when I do read them. But I think it's important that we talk about the fact that she really was focused on unity, and we really can't take this time to divide amongst ourselves. We're so many of us are so many different sects. We're so many different ideologies of what our identification should be, what we should be calling ourselves. But at the end of the day, this is our holiday and we know who R is.
That
So
part.
she was for us to come together and better our situation. And I think
Mm-hmm.
right now more than ever, we need this positivity because we're really going apart, most of us. What do you guys think? Do you see like a lot of separation amongst us today?
Of course I do. I
Very.
do. I see it, and I don't understand why it is because at the end of the day, when they come, they don't care nothing about the separation. They coming for us, and we better come together. That part,
That
because
part.
yes,
Come on.
and girl, guess who was in the chat? The
Uh-oh.
legendary Top Cat. Don't play with him. Top Cat, Top Cat, what's up? Where's open knowledge?
I
Because
text him. I text Open to Knowledge. I don't know where he was, but he's the
let
one
me
that
let
asked
him
if
know.
we were going live. So if he
Yeah,
comes
I
in the
want to.
chat,
We
drop the link.
definitely gonna have you come up because I want to know what you think about Juneteenth. And Nisha, what do you think about this special day? Did you do anything? Did you go anywhere? Dots, did you go anywhere? Did you see anybody today on Juneteenth? Everybody around Delaware was having something, you know, yesterday and today.
No, I didn't do anything. I worked and made money. That's pretty much it. I mean,
Oh, you know what?
Oh,
I don't really indulge. I mean, I appreciate I appreciate that it is a holiday. I acknowledge that. But as far as me, I don't really indulge in no holidays. So
do
it
they
is.
celebrate Juneteenth where you are?
They do.
Do they? They don't celebrate it here.
They do
So,
here. They do in Savannah
wow,
also.
wow,
Hmm.
wow.
Yeah.
Well, you was working
Parade.
today, so you wasn't able to do anything too much anyway, right? Right, Niche? You said you was working.
Yeah, I was working, so I couldn't. I mean, like I said, I just acknowledge it. Um, Grateful that it is what it is, but it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah, well,
I understand that.
this holiday belongs to us. So I can't even say that Black History Month belongs to us because they got everybody else's day inside of the month.
That
But
part.
this particular day belongs to us, so we should enjoy the day.
Come on.
So we
Yeah,
did
I think
ask.
it's like our 4th of July, and everybody talks about it because we all have 4th of July off, and they say you shouldn't celebrate it. Of course, I'll be
Mhm.
celebrating my
Okay,
birthday,
open knowledge is
but
here too.
it's just it's
Girl, they
just one
in
of
here.
those things that
Hmm.
yeah, we should have our own things. And just like I understand the people that said, Kwanzaa, they don't like the guy who made
I
Kwanzaa, but
do
maybe
like
we should start creating
Kwanzaa.
our own holidays. No, he
I
said he
know
was
that's
for
right.
genocide.
I
It's a lot
started
of
doing
stuff.
our heroes' birthdays. I started doing like
Look
Malcolm
into
X
the
birthday.
history
That's
of
my
that.
day.
But what I will
Yeah.
say is that we should have our own. We should have our own holidays. You should push for Martin Luther King to be off. Like it's sad when we're working these days and then they're off. Like we should definitely come together for all of us to be
Right.
off and all of us to come and have our own
Yes.
celebrations, especially
Exactly.
with children because if we want to take different things away from our children of celebrating, we need to give them something in its place to be proud of.
I'm just letting everybody know on the panel. I put the link in the chat because I only did it for smartness, just in case. You know what I'm saying? Because I wasn't here when y'all was on till 5 in the morning, but I'm here now. And I just want to open the knowledge and Top Cats know
And
I
brother
had
Dawood,
wow,
it's
because
not
everybody.
till
I heard the
July
Dots
3rd,
had to
but
come in
thank
here
you.
and she spent the wheel, and y'all couldn't handle her. And now I see Top Cats in there talking about some Dots don't run. Are you serious right now? Come on in here and get some of this.
That said she ain't never been no
No,
sex
seriously,
shop.
you know I'm playing. You know I'm playing with you, Tomcats. But Tomcats, I really want to know what my question for open to knowledge was the connection with the 12 tribes. Um, with the 12 tribes and the indigenous Indians. But yeah,
Peace, Sister Nepal. Thank you for coming through. We appreciate it.
and what she said going because y'all know I ain't got my glasses on. Going back,
She said she has to go back to work.
but happy Juneteenth and respect to the ancestors. Peace. All right. I know that's right. So and thank you for coming. So he said dots what blushing. Dots, you're gonna have to get
Hey,
them.
y'all, hey, what's good, y'all? I don't know.
Hey
Come
dots.
on the panel, you guys. Y'all can come on the panel.
Huh?
What happened?
No, I said Top Cat's in the chat saying stuff to you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. You know that song, I'm not a running out of Jack song.
Come on.
This is our day today, and we supposed to be happy all day long. What time is it over? 12 o'clock. We got a
Every
little bit of time to stay happy. I mean, yes, every day is our day. I'm with you with that niche. Oh, he done came on. He is not playing with you. Oh, he ready. He
Never
ready
running
to run it. He ready. He not playing. He ready. But okay. Hi, Top Cats. How you doing?
Peace,
Can
peace.
you
How you ladies doing tonight?
we just fine. We just fine.
out.
What did you do over the weekend?
Walk around the
Um,
mansion in flip flops.
I stayed at home. I stayed in. I wasn't feeling too well. I just
What?
stayed in and studied.
You did what?
I just stayed
He
in and
don't up
studied
your
all
open knowledge.
weekend.
Don't
I
play.
took it easy.
Hmm. Well, I ain't gonna tell you what I saw on Love and
Right,
Hip Hop.
right,
Oh my God! Come on now.
right. So, Miss Dice, how you doing tonight?
I crashed out looking on at my show. Bad girls. I think it is.
Bad Girl Club.
I'm good. I'm
Bad
good, brother.
girls.
How you doing tonight?
I'm okay. Enjoying my Juneteenth. What about yourself?
All is well. Can't complain. Did you guys celebrate Juneteenth at all today?
Yes, ma'am. I'm from Texas, so
That's what's up.
yeah. So we
That's
we
dope.
get it in down here.
So did
Nisha, your
y'all
hair looks really
barbecue?
cute.
You should come visit.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll show you around.
Did you
Open it
barbecue?
up.
Oh no, I cater barbecue. I ain't cooked this year.
Oh, you wasn't trying to get your clothes greasy. I understand that. I mean,
No, I just didn't have the
I
time.
know you Indians don't want to get no barbecue on your clothes.
Wait,
You
Open
know what
and
I'm
Knowledge
saying?
said we're wrong for not doing a Father's Day. We were busy.
Well,
Well, some
it
of
was
us were
Father's
busy.
Day. My granddaughter
Exactly.
actually
But
had
this is our Father's Day too. So happy Father's Day, Open and Knowledge.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy
Father's
Father's Day,
Day.
Top Cats.
Thank you.
That's
Yes,
all.
yes,
Full
yes.
of
Open
smoke.
to knowledge. Why don't you hit the link? You need to stop your stuff.
And come on up. Come on in.
I know Brother Lie. Now, Brother Lie don't play. He gonna hit that link in just a minute. Because I want to hear what he had to say.
In.
Brother Lie, where you at? I want to hear what you got to say about this is just, free fall day. We just came on. We normally don't come on today is Monday, right?
Uh-oh.
But
Uh-oh.
y'all know, honey, I was gonna bring my cooler downstairs, okay, with me. I think I might go get it.
Why are
But
you saying
anyway,
good evening, Brother
Did
Law?
you
What?
do the cooler? Did you do what I did?
I didn't get a chance to do it, but I wanted to. But Kendra said because it was gonna be kids there for me not to make it.
Oh,
Boring. But it is what it is. But
next
I'm
time.
great. My backyard get ready to start being lit, girl. I want a barbecue this
Yeah,
summertime.
and you just need to keep it separate. Like, okay, the kids have their own punch, put their punch out.
Ain't no
And
kids
so
being
then when you
invited.
have
Ain't
a,
no kids. Ain't no kids
well,
being
I'm just
invited.
saying when the kids are there, you have a punch that's for them, and then you keep the adult punch separate.
Ain't no kids being invited.
Uh-oh.
his
Peace,
grown
brother-in-law.
women
Happy Father's
in
Day.
this. Assalamu alaikum. Hey, brother La, happy Daddy's Day.
Walaikum salam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I was
He's so
telling the sister, I was
girl,
telling,
he's so smooth.
No need to ask.
Brother La.
I
Brother
was
La.
telling, I was telling Sakina that I guess it was a Sunday for me because I'm not a dad.
Well, that's okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Are you an uncle?
Yes, I'm uncle.
Then you are a father.
I know that's right. In
It makes you
Africa, you're
part
the
of the
uncle.
village.
When you were uncle, you the father too.
Exactly. It makes you part of the village.
That's right.
I
Remember
was
that.
gonna say in African tradition, like once you hit a certain age, you're respected as a father or mother, so you'd be like a father to the community.
That's right.
Exactly.
Mm.
If you have to walk your niece down the aisle or your sister down the aisle, you know what I'm saying? Then you are that father.
And I'm quite sure he
You see
plays a
what I'm
big
saying?
role
My
in his
brother
niece.
had to walk me down the aisle. You see what I'm saying? Because my father passed away when I got married, and my oldest brother had to walk me down the aisle. So that does, you see what I'm saying?
Rest your soul.
But let me ask you, Brother La, what did you think about Juneteenth to being today?
To be honest with you, I
Please,
I have
please.
I have a little issue about it.
What's the issue?
More so with me because it's personal.
Because of our religion?
No, it has nothing to do with religion. It has to do with me having to go into work when it's a recognized
Girl,
federal holiday and I'm not getting paid for it.
And I understand that completely.
okay, he want his time and a half.
Yeah, that's what
Now
I want.
my
Right.
question to you is did you apply for it? Did you ask for that day off?
No, it's not even a reasoning of me applying for. I'm working in the private sector. So they just renewed the contract that I got signed on to.
Let me go get my seat. Wait a minute, 1 second, y'all. I can hear everything being said.
So when you assigned for it, you don't have PTO?
The union reps, I guess when they was doing the signing off on the contract, they
Uh-huh.
never implemented it for Juneteenth. So
No, that Juneteenth has nothing to do with PTO and vacation. Understand where I'm going? So when you ask for your PTO or a vacation time, right? And this is based on it's in your this is in your rights. This has nothing to do with my mind is scratching. So this has everything to do with your federal rights or your civil rights. So you can use these days and you can request them off because this holiday, you can use your PTO time or you can use vacation time, and you also can use it for just those reasons alone. If you wanted to use them for religious reasons, but you're not going to be a liar because you don't hold those kind of standards. So, and I'm not asking you to lie, but what I'm asking you to do is request them in time early. Since it's not recognized as a holiday, then request it as a personal time off day or a vacation time, and you can request it within 30 days where it cannot be denied.
But Brother La wants to get paid his.
He can by using vacation or PTO time. Those days are paid time off or vacation time. I'm talking to Brother La as an HR administrator. So if he wants to get paid and take off, he has to use his time, his personal vacation
You
time
missing my
or
point.
personal time off. He will get paid. He's not going to get it free paid, but he will get paid. Do you understand what I'm saying, Brother La?
I get what you're saying, but with
Okay.
that being the
Saying
case,
that he want his time back.
with that being the case, you're speaking about in regards for paid time off, which means vacation time, which means that'll be time that they'll have to take from me that I
Yeah.
don't get back. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to hear that.
I understand that, but what I'm trying to tell you is because it is not recognized as a national holiday in your area or state, the
It
only
is.
way.
It's a federal holiday in New York.
Yeah, it
No, it
is.
is not.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay, well, I just looked up somewhere and it's not recognized as a federal holiday in New York.
Google it
No,
again.
no, that's wrong, Sakina. It definitely is a federal holiday.
That's what I'm saying. It is, and just
Everything
like
was
the
closed. Public schools were
party
closed.
made
It's
it
a federal
federal.
holiday
Yeah,
for
Biden
sure.
signed it in 2021. That's what the
Mm-hmm.
grandmother of Juneteenth is. Biden
Yeah.
signed it in, so it is an official federal holiday. But I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to be negotiating this at first when we're first getting hired on and telling
Right.
people we want this holiday and we want it paid.
Okay, well then otherwise if that is your situation, being in, yeah, okay, federal holidays, but private businesses don't have to participate. So the only way that you are gonna get paid, because otherwise federal people do get paid, salary people do get paid, but private
And that's
sector.
and the issue that I'm seeing now, and I see that somebody just put that in the private sector. That's not true. That's not true at all.
I would have to look up the law on that because I'm not really sure. But the only other way that I know that you could get paid, and I would use PTO time versus because PTO time rolls over for the most of it. But I would ask your union steward at this point. But the only two ways that I know you could get paid, and I would never tell nobody use vacation time over PTO time because PTO time rolls over. But I would use that and schedule it in order to use it and still get paid and take the day off versus using vacation time.
Well, I was just saying that he wants time and a half if he got to work. If he used any of those other days, PTO or vacation time, he might want to use that for something else.
Okay,
He's
but
saying
only
that
people I know that get paid like that would be a
he's saying that it's
caregiver.
unfair that if it's a federal holiday, he should not have to work. And you said you was in the union, Brother La. Well, where's Brother La?
He left, he dropped. But wait, hold up. Isn't President's Day a federal holiday?
I believe that's more of a, yeah, it is. It
Yes.
is.
Anytime the banks are closed is a federal holiday.
Well, my bank
Yeah,
was
so but I was
The
saying
people
because
don't get
only the
paid
kids get
time
off
and a
for
half
it.
on that.
Most of us don't get a President's
Exactly.
Day as a paid time off thing.
That's right. You don't, and you damn sure don't get time and a half on that day either.
Well, I would have if I was at work. If I had to go to work today, I would have got time and a half. And that maybe because I take care of patients.
That's what I'm saying. Caregiver law is a whole different law. That's like nurses and doctors that work. But you have a 16-hour minimum law with y'all. But at the same time, y'all rollovers and y'all holidays and whatnot are a whole lot different. And y'all schedule holidays are a whole lot different than union. Union has a whole different law, and they covered under a whole different umbrella than y'all.
Let me ask legendary Big Chief Top Cats. You gotta say the whole thing to just make him,
Yeah, you gotta say the
Um,
whole thing. Yeah, this is a big old Indian over here. You gotta say the whole thing.
Peace,
wow.
peace, brother. Peace.
Peace, peace, brother.
Hey, yo, Robin was like, wow.
Wow.
Right.
I love you.
Okay. The
No,
You know
legendary.
everything.
I have no.
You know
The
everything
le-
big in Texas.
oh wow. Okay.
That
So I'll
part.
start over. The legendary Big Chief Top Cats.
There
That
you
made you
go.
feel good? Okay. What do you think? Because this is about the slaves being freed. Okay. And there are some Indians that don't believe that the slave situation ever took place. Or you do believe that it took place, right?
Right.
Slavery took place. You do, right?
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What do you say about the indigenous people that don't? And brother
Well,
La, let me ask you about what the Muslims think about today. I never did ask you that. So I'm gonna keep that in the back of my mind so I can ask you that. So what do you say to them?
well,
Legendary. I mean, well, Top Cat shoot, I can't go through all that other stuff.
it's okay. I give you a pass.
Okay, thank
Nah. But I mean, I know it to be true by looking into my story.
you.
So my family history, there's slavery in my family history. As far as my understanding on it, um, so I have slave schedules of my family in Texas listed as slaves. but my grandfather is the owner. So
Mhm.
he has one slave. That's his wife.
Mhm.
I have the manifest with her leaving Alabama, docking at Louisiana, New Orleans, and then coming to Galveston. And they had a carriage waiting on her. So far as the politics of Texas, so I'm a person that was born out of the creation of Texas because so many of my roots and lines go back to the origins of Texas. So for me, Juneteenth hit a little different, with the exception that Al Edwards is my grandmother's first cousin,
Mhm. You was
who's
telling
known
us that
who's
before.
known as Mr. Juneteenth. So to me, it hit different. Not only that, but at the Texas Revolution, my family were chiefs, and they Chief Mingo. You can look him up. He spoke for the Indians. And Sam Houston, he was a messenger and a speaker with Sam Houston. And his stories in our family, Sam Houston ate dinner at my family's place. This is how prominent they were in Texas. Now, that's on my daddy's side, the Casati Indians. Now, far as my family on my mom's side, well, I have a fifth grade grandpa on there too. He was the only one to write a history of the Texas Revolution. Santa Ana burnt down his farm actually. But so when you talk about slavery in Texas, the origins of slavery in Texas doesn't come to 1822. Now that's when settlers from Kentucky, Virginia, these areas came down into Texas. You also had in the late 1700s, after the Treaty of Holston in 1791, you had a band of Cherokee leave Tennessee area and come to Texas. That they was led by Chief Bowles. Now the history of Texas always was this was freedom land because all
Mhm.
the states that was coming into union, Texas, they fought their freedom against before Texas. So let me say this here. I go to give me 2 minutes and I'll run it through. So it'll start with 1807. You had the trade embargo come through. This when they say the transatlantic slave trade was ended by the British, 1808. That
Mhm.
same year, Napoleon Bonaparte attacked France. Attacked Spain and got off the throne. Ferdinand. He replaced Ferdinand with his brother Joseph Bonaparte. Now this divided a split because some people didn't honor Joseph as king, some still under Charles and Ferdinand. So that's where the revolution starts. Now this revolution is gonna come up into the 1820s where they'll win their revolution.
Mhm.
Now, since they win the revolution and the players that fought in it, as far as the revolution, you had people like Vicente Guerrero, you had Castillo, you had Cortez. These were indigenous people. These were people of indigenous lineage, and they had mixed Spanish heritage. So the Spanish heritage, I feel like that's important to note because that bloodline goes back to Cortez, the people who came, the early Spanish conquistadors that came to Texas. So we see that bloodline unite with the Indians. It's a story of amalgamation. So you had a light skinned version where they would team up and they would sign three treaties together and they would bring the coalition together and that created the Constitution in 1824 as they separated from the Spanish. Now, my nation, the Kasadi, we got land here because we were map makers. We built steamboats, and they needed us for our skill. So we came here, we got land, and we guarded the borders. 1822 is when the settlers came in. Like I say, Stephen F. Austin would take over after his dad, Moses Austin, died,
Mhm.
and that's how he become. Austin is the capital here, but he brought in the council of 300. He was the Spanish allowed him to bring in 300 men, and he wanted to bring in settlers like Germans and people coming out of Ireland. He wanted to bring some of those people coming out of the colonies, but there was rules. You had to be Catholic. You had to speak Spanish. So he went and politics in Louisiana. Well, a lot of these melanated people came over into Texas, and they became the Council 300. So it's a person in my group, the Kirkendalls. His family came. My families were the Johnsons, and the Council 300. My sixth grade grandpa was the richest man in Harris County at the time. They went and founded Fort Bend, Frost
Wow.
Bank as well. He's the physician to Stephen F. Austin. So when the revolution crack out, this is why Santa Ana's gonna burn down their farmland. Now on the other side is my Indian family, who's the messenger for Sam Houston in this. So as I fast forward to for Juneteenth, the slaves there. So I can pull something up. Okay, so look, this weekend I went to
Okay.
the Juneteenth Museum and in Galveston, and
Mhm.
the instructor was telling us. So he also spoke about his Indian lineage, and his grandma was telling him he had Indian lineage. But he also came back and told us, he took me to a map. He said, "Look at this chart. It was done by Rice University and slave voyages," and he showed from the population from um 1822 to 1848,
Mhm.
it was only 15,000 slaves brought into Texas in that time frame. Now, what was interesting about it, in 1865, there was 360,000 slaves in the state of Texas. But wait, you only brought over 15. So he came to me and tapped me after we spoke, and he said they had to already been here. And
Mm.
so it was going
Yeah.
back to what his grandma in Sealy, Texas told him, that she was an Indian, they was on the island, how they had land and stuff. And so I have all this recorded from the co-chairman of the Juneteenth Museum in Galveston. And I also recorded the people in Galveston, elders, 77-year-olds, and they're Galveston natives, and they're saying that they family told them since they were 3, 4, 5 that they were Indians, and their grandparents, who great grandparents who they knew were enslaved or sharecroppers, were actually Indians as well. So I had a treat this weekend because I was able to talk to the people on the ground and get some insight from them and their family stories. I even met a family out there. Their grandma street is a street named after their grandmother, and their uncle got honored that day at the parade. And
Wow.
also their fourth great grandpa was an Indian chief in Galveston. But I land there. So yeah, this weekend was a real good weekend for me.
Now, have you? This the lady that we spoke on. Opal. Have your family ever heard of her? The lady that walked
Right.
from.
Well, that's new. Yeah, that just came when they created this new holiday around the COVID era. The Biden administration and whatever. They, that's like fairly new for as her the mother. But yeah, we read a book. It was a book there at the museum. Some of the women in our group, they actually bought the book, supported. But yeah, it's fairly new. That's a new
You
story.
don't think that that's facts?
No, ma'am, that's a new story. I think
Wow.
that correlated with the. You have to understand they had to bring out this story of Juneteenth to make it a national holiday, when in fact it only affected the people that was in the jurisdiction of General Field Order 3. So that's why they went down to Galveston, which was the largest city in Texas at the time. But they went down there. It didn't apply to other people. So that's why I say that story. Now it don't correlate. That they used her to help bring forth this new how everyone's celebrating it now in towns. They don't even do it like the people down there. They do a second line, like the people in Louisiana down there. They do a second line in a parade down there. The still with the same dances, the instruments that they always use, and yeah. So I think it's kind of a disservice because they got other people marching, waving flags and freedom, and it's just bad. But I land there.
Dulcinea,
And
what do
I
you
do
think
want to
about?
say
Yeah.
that it is true that Biden signed it during COVID 2021, but it's not true that Opal Lee started it during COVID. She actually did the march in 2016, and this is something that she's been dreaming about for years upon years. So it was a goal for her to have Juneteenth as a recognized holiday, and she's from Marshall, Texas.
I wanted to say that, you know, major salute to Top Cat in the sense of you knowing and having your foundation and knowing like your family genetic line, right? Like so the reason why you can come, the reason why I believe at least, right, is you can say, of course, yeah, of course there was slavery all throughout the Americas, right? North, South, the Caribbean. However, when it comes to my family, right? Boom, 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 boom. So you are very clear and you have clarity in regards to your family tree. The confusion comes in when people don't have that, right? And we know why, especially and this burning desire to want to know. So often I feel like sometimes the conversation can get a little bit stuck and it can bring up a lot of emotions. And to me, that's all good things, because that means that we're starting to question, right? We're starting to question identity. We're starting to question whether or not things we were told is true. But that's where the confusion comes in, right? So I feel like with you, Top Cats, you're in a very different category because you're very clear. You have, you can actually look at family members and say, this is so and so, this is so and so, right? However, unfortunately, that's not the case for many others, right? And like for me, I have never been interested in telling a person who they are in the same way that I wouldn't want anybody to tell me who I am. You get what I mean? So when I hear people, like when I hear conversations and people are just throwing out assumptions or just throwing out foolishness, like there was no Africans in Barbados, or that slavery, there were different types of slavery and Europeans were slaves too when they came over. When things like that, those talking points start to get thrown out, right? That's when the chopping off the head, off with the head type shit start coming, right? So you're in a very different category, which is a wonderful thing. So you have a strong foundation. It doesn't matter how anyone else sees you, what anyone may think about you in terms of your own DNA, because you know your family tree, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people do not, And the last point that I wanted to say is that, and I know I say this, a lot, but that is why identity should never be based on someone's phenotype, or the presumption of identity should not be based on phenotype, because then that makes no sense. First of all, that's not even scientific, right? And there has, listen, that this is a fact where a lot of a lot of the Africans who were enslaved, for example, and that did try to quote unquote flee or go to another state or go to another territory, right, where they would be considered freemen. The Native Americans or indigenous tribes that were there, they offered lots of help, right? They offered protection, they offered covering, and although there was friction throughout history, obviously, between the different groups, but at the end of the day, for me at least, I've always said that this is why none of my brethren could ever be my enemy. Just could never be my enemy. And I understand and I know where the confusion lies. So that's all I wanted to say.
When you say brethren, you mean just people of melanated hue?
Yeah, I just say for even though that's dangerous, right? But just for lack of a term, just like in terms of a talking point, I'm specifically using that word. Yeah.
Right. Well, there's a whole bunch of them that's my enemy. No, I'm succeeding, but I wouldn't want them to be. I want us to be one, no matter where we've come from. Because as I see now, and I'm coming to terms since I've been on these YouTube channels, I'm finding that I thought that we were all one people because we're all melanated, but we're not. I am now finding that the tribes are different. That I'm saying that we don't all look alike, because when I can
We're
spot.
not when it comes to ethnicity and nationality, but when it comes to race and being
I
American,
thought
Dots, I
you
have to ask
always did
you:
that to
Do you
me.
consider us all like having a shared culture because we're in America now and we're black here?
You was talking to me because like I was
I was
trying to
asking Dots.
what what I was talking though. Wait a minute, y'all gonna stop being mean to me because
No,
I'm
I was. It was to clarify what you were saying. That's why I was asking Dots, because you were saying you always thought we were one people, and I'm
yeah, like
asking
but we're not because
culturally. I'm asking
right.
culturally in America now, and everything that we have to experience as Black people. Do people see that as we are one culture of people?
People in America.
Black people in America.
Yeah, I think that we are one particular culture because we look different. Like we are new beings, not Nubians, new beings.
But that's
And
why I kind of asked Dots, because I knew you would answer yes.
well, I wasn't finished my statement, and you just like
Okay, finish the statement then, if you could remember, Dots.
if I can remember what I was saying, but um, I'm just saying now that I look around the world with people that are melanated, they don't all seem the same. They don't all even look the same. You know what I mean? So, which tells me that we are from different tribes. I'm not saying that we can't come together as one whole because we are melanated, and because if it ever came down to the get down, we all better fight together. But I do see a difference in us, and I have to admit that. Like I know that I have some type of African in my bloodline, yes, and also with me being my native family that was already on these lands from over here. But when I see Africans, it's like I can spot them. I know that they're Africans. Just like sometimes when I see Jamaicans, I know that they're Jamaicans. They don't look just like the Africans or the like the different types of tribes. You can see the difference. I'm asked
It's a different frequency too.
yeah, it is different. It's different.
Yeah,
I
they
like
don't
it.
have to say nothing. You don't have to ask them. You can just feel it. You just
Yeah,
it's like a sixth sense. You just know it's annoying. So
even
yeah,
people that's
I
from
agree.
Guyana, there is a difference. You know,
Can
and
I ask
they're
a question?
Dominican people from the Dominican Republic,
Can
and
I
they look
please have my
regular.
question answered first, Sakina, and then you go after?
I can wait.
And then you just say to yourself, like, wow, we are really all different. Like, even though I like to believe that we're all one people, but even the Quran says, I made different tribes that y'all may come together and learn from each other. So we just not the same, but we're one. But we can be one. I'll put it like that. I'm talking about melanated people, dark melanated people. I better say that. But okay, you was asking Dots a question.
Yes. So, Dots, I wanted to ask, as far as with being in America and the Black experience as of 2023, do you see us as one combined people culturally?
Yet, absolutely not. No way, absolutely not. Um, that's why I always say, find your tribe, find your tribe, find your tribe, and I mean that in this, in the sense that just like-minded people as well. But just find your tribe because I know, be it natives, be it Africans, their identity is strongly rooted in their family group, in their tribal group, right? So to assume, for me to assume that because a person, quote unquote, looks like me, that makes them my kinfolk. Absolutely not. And that's when the cultural
Is that the question
appropriation
you was
starts to happen,
asking?
you know? I'm
That
sorry.
question was kind of off, I think, because I mean, what I was answering is that I thought she was saying the people that are here in America. I'm not talking about the people that come over that might look like us. I think you talking about the people that are born and raised in America. Because we
Absolutely. That's
right.
absolutely what I'm
So
talking about.
that's what
Yeah,
I thought.
yeah,
I
that's what I'm yeah, that's
like
what I'm talking about. Be of descent. I'm saying that's what we're talking about. We're talking about our
you don't
family
think
line
that
and
you
history.
don't think that the people that's in America act similar to each other?
So when they come, what I was saying is, irregardless if they were native or irregardless, and that's what you're claiming as your identity, or or whether or not it's African. What I'm saying is both their identity has always been strongly rooted and their tribe affiliation. So I've learned, I haven't always believed that either, but I do know, and this is why I do agree with that slogan or that saying. I don't know if you guys heard it, where they say, like, just because we're the same skin don't make us kin, right? Doesn't make us kin folk just because of the melanin. That's where the confusion lies. So yeah, no, I definitely think in America, absolutely they're different. I don't think that we're all one. No.
I do. In America, I'm saying, because I mean, the Americans that I know, even you from New York, you might got a different slang to your talk, but you're not that much different. You know what I'm saying? Just like the Texas people, they got a little slang to their talk, but we all kind of, you know what I'm saying, act a little the same because we all from here in America.
And that's why I was bringing up kind of last time culturally, like our codes, how we play games, game
Yeah,
night.
we all
Game
play
night is a
good.
black thing. Like going to a black game night is a thing. And it's not like a thing that only Texans do or New Yorkers do or New Jersey. Game night is going to be lit. Game night, people are going to be very competitive and it's going to be fun. And that's something that's culturally ours. I don't see how that is disconnected, like, oh, only this tribe does it or only this tribe does it, when we know Black Americans have certain things that we all do.
Okay,
Okay,
can I ask my question now?
sure.
Thank you. This is where I'm asking, because y'all going, before y'all go too far. So if we can't use today's knowledge with yesterday's thoughts, okay? Because everybody talking about today in America and all this, because when all of this happened, we didn't have all this knowledge, right? Because at this time, Haikus was a person that was tracking and keeping up with books and measures and accounts and what have you. And he himself was a mixed person. So if he noticed that the Egyptians were darker, and then he saw the Greeks and he noticed that they were lighter than him, but yet they were still brown, he didn't say, oh my God, well, where they come from, or they got to be mixed too, or they not from here, they from there, or you see what I'm saying? So ain't nobody stuck on all the where everybody at right now. All he knew is that they were mixed too, because we still talking about all of these different cultures, all these different tribes. Nobody said that. All we saying is in the beginning, everybody were brown and they still came from all these different places, because if we saying Native Indians in America, we might as well say Native everybody in America, because nobody in America is from America. So we got to put that part, because you can't use today's knowledge with yesterday's thoughts, because you got Native Africans here only because you was born here, just like legendary Big Chief Top Cat, he was born here. So even if he's a Native Indian or a Native American Indian, everybody who's claiming African, you're a Native American African. You're just saying African American, but guess what? You're still Native.
Where's your question at, though?
So then that's the question. Why are you still using yesterday's thoughts with today's knowledge, trying to equate something that makes no argument, only for the Native American Indian? You're not questioning your African American, and they were here first. Or were they? Because it says that the African American came here.
Came on later on. The African American term came later on.
No, right. They were last.
The only reason why they really put that African American term on us, because Africans came over on the ships to be slaves.
But
and
Negroes existed
and not tell the difference between the Africans now because of the
and the Indian, and so they mixed them all together.
Right.
Why? Because even now they're saying if you're light enough, even now in jail systems and whatnot. I told you my nieces work. I have 2 nieces work for the prison system. If you're light enough, they'll say you're white. If you're dark enough, they say you're black. So the Indian and the African, I don't care how dark you were, even I moved on the south side of Milwaukee when my brother bought his first home. He bought a three-level home. And when I told you, when one of my brothers bought me a car, my other brother didn't let me use his car. I was trying to get to the store. I walked up to a man that was dark as open, and I'm not saying nothing wrong about open. And I asked that man, could he tell me the directions to the store? That man didn't know a lick of English because he was Puerto Rican.
Yeah, I know that they
So all I'm saying is that we can easily say that just because he dark skinned, we just know he African, we just know he whatever. And just like Top Cat is Indian, that man was Puerto Rican, and I am African American or whatever. I don't know what I am because I haven't got my DNA chart. So all I'm saying is looks can be deceiving all day long.
But
so we arguing about the inevitable, or we something that we don't even know.
I don't know who was arguing, but
I'm not saying we arguing. I'm saying we building defenses and whatnot for something, but because we're using today's knowledge with yesterday's thought, that's not fair.
Well, I say this,
but it's necessary, right? They always say you don't want to repeat certain types of history. You have to know, like there has to be. That's where the confusion lies, when a person don't know.
Fair to them. That's not fair to them, or is it not fair to us to say that this is not qualifying them, but it qualifies us? But everybody needs to do a DNA or swab or whatever it is, because just like I want to know, but if it says that we don't need to do DNA because it's not going to prove nothing for the Indian, or if we're Indian or not, because my mom said she was, and so I want to know if it's. You see what I'm saying? And then as far as my father, I know. But you see what I'm saying? I do have land, but at the same time, I don't. It sounds like it's hopeless to find out on one aspect, and then it's positive to find out on the other.
Let Top Cat answer the question for you, baby.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Well, I say that's why the methodology that my message is as far as I understand the DNA test, and my family took DNA tests, but they was cross-referencing it with the genealogy. So there's a paper trail on your family or your history here in America. Everything was wrote down from deeds, from if you were in a war where it was census, birth records, death certificates, marriage certificates. There's a paper trail of the history of your family if you were here in the Americas. As far as the African American, in 1924, they stopped. They passed the Immigration Act. That's the same year that they passed the one drop rule, the Racial Integrity Act, where they stopped immigration from white Europeans over because of World War I. In 1965, they came back and signed a new Immigration Act, which allowed Chinese, which allowed Asians and Africans over. At that same time, they came back, and we hear the term Afro-American first in 69. Then they killed Negro. So the black, after the black, they brought in the black, they ushered in the black. The black killed the Negro status. And then in 2017, Obama came back, and in law, he killed the Negro. He killed Negro in law and said that it doesn't fit people anymore. Same as Jesse Jackson in the 80s said, we want to be called African Americans because Negro doesn't fit us. So these are political decisions used to classify people who are not the same, because everyone has their own story and everyone here didn't have the same experience. So if we didn't come from the same mother and father, then we don't share the same experience here. Like I tell everyone, but if you do have a mother and father, then that's where you start. You start with yourself, then you start with your mother and father, you trace their parents, so on and so forth, and keep going back as far as you can. And there's actually a paper trail, and in that paper trail tells your story versus his story. And so I think that's important. So it's not a bad thing that we're all different, because what really brought a lot of us together and our families together were the wars. So that's why it's good about understanding which side of the field were your family in. Did they participate in these wars? Most of our families, our elders have. Our uncles, our cousins, our grandparents, even our fathers, and some of us. So now there's a history there as far as the DNA. Not to knock it, but it doesn't give you those details. It don't tell you if you own land. It don't tell you if land was taken away from you. It don't tell you if you're heir to something that was left behind your family
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
it's broken up. So
Let me ask you this. I'm going to cut across you, um, um, cats. But let me say, this. Do you think at any time they tack on that American, African part onto us, so we can only claim Africa, not over here? I think
okay,
that might be. I mean, you can elaborate on it, but do you
yes,
think
ma'am.
they tack that on there just so
Right.
we
Well,
won't have no claim to America in a sense? It's like
no,
African
that's correct.
American,
That's
but it's
correct. So what we have to understand, we'll go back to the creation of the government. So the narrative is that the British is the reason for all of this, but really that story doesn't come around to after the Civil War. So in 1763, King George signed a proclamation, and this was after the Treaty of Paris of the 7 Year War. He drew a proclamation line saying that the people in the North couldn't cross the Appalachians. So that became a problem because these Europeans that were here, they were under the crown. So their Indian allies who were stealing land, that was the reason why they had to he put it in place because they were taking Indian lands in the northwest and also in the north. And so he signed this declaration that basically like hands off of their property. In so in return, they created a system. That's why the United States is created out of the Indian system. So it adopted after what is called the Great Law of Peace. So in H. Con. Res. 331, it gives acknowledgement to the Iroquois government for creating the help create the U.S. Constitution. So it was a guy by the name of Conasauga who helped create the Orders of Confederation and help them create their system of the U.S. So what this system does now, the Europeans are not under the jurisdiction of the crown now. They're under the jurisdiction of this newly formed government that was
mm,
created through this Indian system. And how do we know the Indian system? Because the president is the commander in chief. So this whole system is adopted after the Great Law of Peace. I move on and say this. So the people that were brought here came from different. There were melanated people came here from Europe. There were melanated people came here from different places. So I don't feel like we all share the same experience because a lot of us are not the same people. Through war and through struggles and survival, we have become same people. By intermixing and intermarrying, we have become people in that sense. But I feel as though the importance of knowing your story, you would know where you fit in this story in history. And I think that's where your allegiance will follow because a lot of people was out here and they have no purpose because some of the things they're into, they don't have connections to it. And it's not connecting them back to their roots and to their ancestors. And that's where their power is, I feel. I close on that.
That's a
Uh,
very
I
good
Now, can
point.
I ask you
say,
a
hold
question
on.
right quick, please?
Great
Okay,
point.
yeah, I
Um,
just wanted to say peace to Heckle Bus. Thank you for coming out again and joining in the conversation. And I did want to say it to Jackson of what he said is an important point of what I was saying that we don't have to be from the same place to share culture. Stimuli was saying game night came from white people talking about watching games. That's not what game night is, sweetie. Game night is how we come together and we play games with each other, and we're not like white people because white people follow the actual rules. They bring out the rules from whatever game they're playing and they say, hey, this is how we're going to play it. Black people have what we call house rules, so it's depending on the house you're at, and we have these rules that aren't in the game manual at all, but somehow all over the country we're all participating in the same rules.
Well, we created
No, go ahead. Were you gonna say something, legendary Big Chief Top Cats?
All right, can y'all hear me, Mike? Check.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah. Well, we created for as games, for as the number system. All that we know that they got the number system from them. For as the lottery, they come from the numbers that we ran. The casinos and the gambling. That's why a lot of people are always in there. Spades, dominoes, ice. All of these things come from America. When you're talking about sports, we had the huge sports arenas from track and field. We had the basketball courts. We had the what today is baseball. We started lacrosse. All of these things were created here in America. These are ancient games here. You had the Olympics being played out in the Southwest for United States down there. So it's now as far as white folks starting anything, I wouldn't give them that much credit because far as gambling and the things that we do, what makes us cultural, those things were already here.
Um,
Okay.
Hey,
I
open the knowledge. How you doing, brother? Sorry, Nisha. You want? I'm sorry.
yeah, I had
Okay.
a
No. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I had a question for Top Cat. So I want to understand if some people that say that they are American Indians, Native American, Abos, whatever. So, and they claim that they don't have any African DNA ancestry. So, what would be the genetic makeup for those people? Where did the actual people come from?
Okay, that's a great question. That's why my message is always genealogy is the key because that's the and so since
Wait, hold
you
on.
like I
Mic
say,
check. Could you guys hear what he just said? Because I couldn't.
No. Uh-uh.
Okay, can
Mike
you
take.
go back? We can hear you now. If you could go back.
Okay, okay. So I said, great question. My advice would, like I say, that's why we use the all have a mother and father. We all have a story, and so we start with ourselves, and then we follow our parents. We look for their parents, and we follow the paper trail, and through that, it tells our story. So, can't no one, if somebody don't know you, they don't know who you are. Is to tell you who you are. That's why this is an individual journey. It's the hardest journey, versus doctrines or religions or anything that brings you all in one. But when you want to know who you are, you have to trace your bloodline and follow your bloodline, and that'll tell
I
your
get
story.
that, right? But I think what I'm trying to, I understand that and I agree with you. But what I'm asking is if, okay, so as for yourself, you know that you have um, lineage from African lineage, partly, right? So
No
the
man,
other, no, you don't.
no man.
Okay, so okay, fine. So what is it then?
Okay, my admixtures. As far as my admixtures,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So I have Scottish ancestry that go
Say that
back
again.
to my ninth great ancestor. Came here. They have Scottish, Irish ancestry. I have a fifth great grandpa who have Irish ancestry. My 11th great grandpa came recently. Lived here as free Negroes, fought in the Revolutionary War, got 300 acres from King George II, which makes our family sons of the Revolution. Um, and what else I had in there? And also French from
Okay,
my people in Louisiana.
but you said free Negroes. So let okay, so where the free Negroes come from?
Ma'am, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
You mentioned that great great grandfather, whatever, was a free Negro, right? So
Correct.
where does the Negro heritage come from?
The Negro heritage came from Switzerland. So what happened was
What?
Nick, yes ma'am, he came from, well,
Oh,
I'm telling you, he
Ouch.
migrated here from Switzerland to South Carolina. They were pillars, they were Lloyd's family, landowning family. They had recognition here. They didn't come in servitude because they fought in what is called the Williamite Wars when the French went into Scotland and took King Charles II off the throne. My family fought under William, the King William. So they were granted, land when they got to America. But yes, far as Negro, Negro come from the Portuguese and the Spanish, but in the colonies they adopted it. Far as the Dutch companies, and
okay.
so
But what Switzerland has to, you said Switzerland, what that has to
correct.
do with the Portuguese?
Well, Switzerland once there was a status in the colonies. So when we go into upper colonies, the first colonies that was formed. So we'll use where they had an African burial ground at in New York. That land, what they gave them pointers was to divide the indigenous populations from the main base. So they had a buffer zone, which they gave to the people, which they labeled free Negroes in there. So Warren DeVries, for example, he was labeled free Negro. He was the captain of the ship. He was one of the people who had the land allotment there with those 11 Africans they said that they brought, Anthony Portuguese, so on, people who got out of their indentured service and went on to be free people. Some but I say from Europe they got that
Wait, we gotta. I'm sorry.
classification. They got
Got
that the 13 colonies used the
it.
Negro classification. So down south we use the colored classification that didn't apply to people down south, only in the colonies for as Negro.
And when they say that African Moors went in and conquered Europe and Spain and all those places, are you saying it's like a conspiracy kind of to call them all Moors, or
Wait, I'm
do you
sorry. Say it one more
believe that?
time.
When they say it's the African Moors that came in and conquered places like Europe and Spain, and why that phenotype and darker people came because of those African Moors, are you saying that's kind of made up history and a conspiracy, or what?
For as
How do you
the
separate
Moors
the Black Europeans
actually,
from the Moors?
well, the Moors who actually invaded. Was he speaking about the Moors that came out of Spain and invaded the
Europe,
Iberian Peninsula? I mean,
exactly.
right, came out of North Africa there. What about them?
Oh,
Right.
when people see the Black Europeans that you mentioned, normally they say they're that skin color or anything because of the African Moors from North Africa that came in and colonized
Okay.
those places. So I was saying, what's the actual history?
Okay. Well, before they went in, so they were Phoenician colonies at first. So they had, Byblos. They had ancient Crete. They had different colonies. So after the fall of the Punic Wars, the War of Zimmer, they relocated into the Iberian Peninsula into some of the old telescope, these old colonies that they had. Uh, for their setup, how they had them set up, they were built for. So that was the place that they colony lasted. So they invaded there through the first Punic Wars, but they ended up losing in the second. In the Battle of Zuma, and so a lot of them retreated there. But in the more you had a Islamic population came in and took those people out. So those people were actually melanated people in the before Spain came down. The people that they came down and conquered were actually old Phoenicians and people that came out of Carthage as well. But then you had a different Muslim group, the Berbers, came down and sacked them. So I would say there would be two different people.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question just real quickly because I wanted to. So the Negro, and I'm just going to use, the term that you use, the Negroes that was in Switzerland, right? Where did the Negro come from?
Open to knowledge. You don't want to answer nothing. You're just gonna leave it on Top Cats.
When you say the Negro,
I don't stop nobody, Bill. Go ahead, Big Chief.
when
Okay.
you say the Negro, I'm sorry, Mom. You say where did the Negro come from in Switzerland?
Right. When Nisha was asking about like lineage, right? And you were saying about in regards to your family line.
Right.
So where did the and you mentioned that the Negroes that came, they were Swiss, right? That they came
Correct.
over
And
phenotypically they had
later
melanin.
Caucasian. Correct. Correct. They were melanated
Okay,
people.
so where did the Negro come from? Where did they come from?
Well, the original Negro came out of Portugal because that's who first they first classified them in the first century. Where
Okay.
Zaire was given land by Alfonso the First in a town called Lido dos Negros, and you also had A dos Negros. Those towns were given to them, which meant the black lands. So they were given to quote unquote Jewish people, supported Jewish blacks, supported Jewish people. So they carried that term Negro, but after the trade, it was applied here in the colonies through the Dutch companies. But people that came from Europe, well, that title was put on them. Now, the indigenous population here for South Carolina, for example, in 1740, they actually, under the Negro Act, they actually grouped all melanated people together. So they tell you that they group Moors together, they group the Indians together, rebellious Indians, um, in result of the 1739 Stono Rebellion when the Stono Indians around the Charleston area rebelled. In 1740, they put Negro laws on them, basically, and
Right.
classified them as Negro. So in Sister Freedom's town, she from Virginia, there was a guy by the name of Walter Plecker who worked for the Vital Statistics Office who actually went back and changed the records. Y'all can look it up. Changed the records and made people Negro, took their Indian status and made them Negro. And he went back and I mean pulled up even people who were dead, and he attacked families and classified them as Negro and took their Indian titles off them. His name was Walter Plucker. Y'all can look it up.
Right. So and okay. And so so let's go back a little bit further. So the Negro from Portugal, where did they come from?
They migrated into Portugal. They say from Israel.
No,
That's
no,
what they
no. We're
say.
not doing that. We're not doing that. All
That's what
right.
they
I
So
was
say.
gonna
we're not
ask
doing that.
the
We're not
Phoenicians.
doing
Don't
that.
they
We're
say
not
the
doing that.
Phoenicians are from the
No.
Levant
We are not doing that.
and say
This is like
Phoenicians
crazy.
are
Everything but
Israel?
African. This is insane.
No, no, no,
This is
Mama. They didn't
just
come from Africa though.
insane.
So, listen, Mama. I'll say this here. When we talk about
Insane.
Africans, when we talk about Africans, Mama, one thing that we have to be honest, and anyone can type this: Africans weren't the greatest sellers. There were people out there who were known to be seafarers. Africans do not fall in that category. Not even the Egyptians were more prolific in seafaring than other nations out there. You had people like the Assyrians who were master sailors. You had people like the Phoenicians. These were people who did a lot of import export for Egypt. They relied on them for naval forces. Africa was a colony to these same people. So these colonies, we look up Haino the Great. Haino and the Phoenicians are going, we can look it up. The Phoenicians will go in and build colonies in Africa. These will be their posts that will be attacked later on. After, like I say, the siege of Carthage in the Phoenicians' entire field, where a lot of these people came to America, and a lot of these people went to the Iberian Peninsula. And so when we talk about Africans, we never heard of a mighty African navy, but we hear the people in the Pacific Islands who were master sailors and who had master navies. We see the Chinese, the ancient Chinese, who were master sailors who had mighty naval armies. The Mediterranean had powerful naval armies, the Pillars of Hercules. African nation, there's no African nations who had mighty navy armies.
But it don't
All right.
matter if they had mighty navy armies, regardless of what. We still going back and back and back and try to understand their origin. So it doesn't matter if they're classified as a Moor or a master sailor. Or I mean, you could look at what they doing today. They making a way. So if they could make a way now, they could have made a way back then on moving
But
from this place to another place. So we're not gonna play
the
that
how
game anymore.
you would have to understand the art or the science of shipbuilding, which the Egyptians even had to buy out from these people out of biblos, like where they got their wood, because they didn't have the resources that they needed. Lebanon cedar. When the Spanish got here, they traded in the wood that they were using for the mahogany wood here because the ships lasted longer. Something that they got from the indigenous people here in America for its Cortez. So when we talking about we see the Portuguese, they don't start selling until the 1400s. It was in This was a science, and it was sacred science to have the knowledge to be shipbuilders, and that was something that no African nations had. We can't name African; they're not known for large naval armies or large seafaring expeditions.
It's not
Sister Freedom, can you drop the link again
I
for
ha-
people who are just coming in?
It's not about if they had a large naval army. If I'm telling you, somebody did something. So you mean to tell me that African people never migrated to nowhere else since
How did they
our,
get there? Did they walk? What they do? Walk?
so you mean okay,
I mean, you
I'm
walk
We have a
across the
king
ocean.
in Africa with mighty kings that Africa, Egypt, Kemet alone was one of the longest running dynasties that Egypt ever had.
Kemet had a
One,
lot of outside help. Kemet wasn't. Kemet had predecessors. Kemet Goad say that they come from a different land. So Kemet wasn't the breadbasket. They got all the credit from other
what
nations.
land did they come from?
You had Kush. That where they Goads come from, Punt. So when we go into Hatshepsut, them they
No,
worship the
no,
god.
doesn't Kemet mean Cush or vice versa?
No. Kush was a different landmass than Kemet. And also Punt. So I mean, even when we
Well,
a
weren't
lot
they?
of
Well, where does the
things that
Tuat? Because
made
I'm a little rusty on the Tuat people, but weren't they related to these the Kemet
now the
people?
Twa the Kemetic people were larger. The Twa were like dwarf
Exactly.
size, midget size. Now those the Kemites, what we see them on their depictions on the wall, they have no depictions of that of them. Nah,
Okay, well, that wasn't my question anyway. But my question to you was about the it was called the peace laws in 1773, right?
the Great Law of Peace.
Yeah.
Okay, what about it?
Okay, so um, that law was after the Boston Tea Party, correct?
Well, it actually was before the coming of the European colonization. That law was enacted, but
Okay, so then why was so many of the people, so they say, that they dressed up as Native Indians,
Mhm.
and then over a
Correct.
hundred of them, supposedly, this is what they have in the encyclopedias and a few other books
Correct. They
I've read.
dressed up as Mohawk and Narragansett Indians. Correct.
And then at the same time, 9,700 pounds, 100, what it was, 9,700 pounds of people or tea, so they say, was dumped
Heroin.
into and
Yep.
it was dumped into the ocean. So we know as a fact it wasn't tea, and you want to say it was
It's
heroin.
heroin. No,
Yet
it's a heroin
yet
for a fact.
why would they dress Native Indians? Dress people up as Native Indians, and then you say they dress these people up to dump heroin when we want to really
They
know
didn't
that
dump
they
it.
dress.
They actually scraped. The story is the heroin that fell out, the bags that bust. They actually scraped the board, scraped this the ship and got the crumbs and everything. So
Right. Well, when
yeah,
we actually know that they dumped these people. like when slaves down the ship and they dumped the people off, because that's what was really their money back then, was slaves. It wasn't heroin, it was slaves. And
Nah,
that's what they
mama,
was
nah.
really doing. They
This
got rid
this
of the
is
people. So the tea was people, and that's what they
nah,
dumped over
mama.
the
They didn't.
ship.
Nah. That's
Oh, okay.
okay.
So
So
why would they dress
they
up
come from the
people
Sons
and
of
put?
Liberty. I'm about to tell you.
Oh, okay.
I'm about to tell you why. So
Uh-huh.
they come out of the Sons of Liberty, which
The
comes.
white folks.
No,
I'm
no,
not
no.
trying to
These
sound
are
racist. So we
no.
trying
These
to say
are black.
slave owners. Slave
No,
owners took
mama.
over 100 people, and then they dumped over 300 pounds, almost 10,000 pounds of tea or heroin, and they real money was slaves. So you want
Nah,
to say
mama. What
that?
I'm trying to tell you is that this that didn't have anything to do with slaves. The reason why they dressed up
Mm.
like Indians is because they considered themselves Indians. This is what I'm telling you. They were Mohawk and Narragansett. So they
Oh.
come from the Sons of Liberty, people who they weren't born in Europe. They were born here in America. So they looked up to the Indians around the area. This is not a white story. So when we go into Black Boston, I'm looking for my PDF on Black Founding Fathers, because this whole story, I mean, from the first Continental Congress to the Continental Army, the
Mm-hmm.
Boston armies, all of those people, the first units in the U.S. Army, all of these were black people. This
Mm-hmm.
the people that went on the boat were the Sons of Liberty. They come from an Indian secret society called the Sons of Tammany that was created in 1758 before during the 7 Year War. So this was a secret society. This is where the Masonic aspect is gonna come into it. But the people that went on the boat that dressed up, they wasn't dressed up like Indians. Later, people wrote it like that. They knew who went on there and did that. It was heroin. So you had a company called the East Indian, the British East Indian Company. So they were bringing poppy over from the Asian trade, and that's what was on the boat. That's what they really went on the boat and got. So nah, and this is that's not a white story. None of the founding father stories a white story. A lot of people, ancestors, a lot of people are tied to it. Yeah, but they
Can you say like when white people took over or what war we should be looking into when the white
white folks
people?
didn't fight the wars. White folks
Well,
didn't fight no
yeah,
wars
but you know
until
how white people are empowered today. When did that transition happen?
in the beginning of the 20th century, the end of the 19th century, in the 20th century. So
Okay.
we don't get large white populations here until after 1861 during the Homestead Act, where they brought in Eastern Europeans, and we don't get the next wave until the Ellis Island situation, all the way up until 1924. We stopped the white immigration here. Now, in that time, that's where the Jim Crow laws come from,
And that
because
was horrible.
say
Jim
what
Crow.
now?
Jim Crow time was just
Yeah,
horrible.
Jim Crow came in 1924. This is the same. This is the Racial Integrity Act. This when Walter Plecker went back changing death certificates, marriage certificates, all of these people status from Indian to Negroes. But this also the World War was going on, so they stopped immigration of white people here. So what happened was they basically put the white population against the black population. You also had the rebirth of the birth of America, the rebirth of the Klan, the second Klan. Because when we go to the first Klan, we find out they had niggas in the Klan. J.A. Rogers, different people wrote on this. So the second wave will be different, and so that's when we see the Tulsa burnings, we see the Red Summer, we see Houston riots, we see Beaumont riots, these riots around these black towns, and so and we have to note that all of, just like we see Jesse Jackson, any crime going, we see Jesse Jackson, we see Al Sharpton, Ben Crump, them out there. Well, back then, W. Du Bois. A lot of people don't know you had a system called the African Brotherhood, which was a Pan African organization by a brother coming out of the islands who was in Harlem. 2 months before Tulsa burned, he came through the W. Du Bois now, came through the 2 months later, it burned down, no different than what happened in North Carolina and a lot of these other places. So it was what they did was, and I close on this. So what happened was those people that were in power, that were black people, they bred white. How do we know this? So the guy that worked at the National Archives, his name was um come to me. He wrote a book, and he got demoted from his position. They docked his pay and put a white man in his position. Daniel, it'll come to me. Daniel, it'll come to me before I get out of here. He ended up writing a book on all of these black families. Daniel Murray, I'm sorry, Daniel Murray. He ended up writing a book on all of these white families, I mean black families, who were slave owners, and they bred white in the late 20th century, and they started putting these white people in power. So in return, he came back and wrote that book. He was a part of the Niagara movement, the Afro movement. Afro American movement back in the day before they started the NAACP. You also had the richest man in the world, black man in America, John McKee. John McKee, grandson, is the guy that started the Boule. His son will pass as a white man for 40 years and lived his life as a white man. So he had a white wife, white kids, all of this. But when it was time for his inheritance, when his uncle died, he was the oldest in the family. They came to him, the CIA, and asked him, was he a Negro? All of this is documented. I think his name was Theodore or something like that. And they came to him and asked him, was he a Negro? So they found out for over 40 years he'd been living his life as a Negro. When he died, their whole estates went to the white side of the family. So that's white people that came into power. A lot of these black families who had a hand in this colonization, they actually bred white in the end of the 20th century. And like I say, Daniel Murray proved that. You look through the John McKee and the founder of the Boule story, we see these same things.
Mm, 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 mm. So
I
you're saying
wanted
that's
to
why we look a
something.
little different
I
and not
wanted
so
to say
strong
something.
women. I'm sorry, Dustin. Are you saying
It
that's why we
wasn't
look a
me.
little? I'm sorry. That's why that's I'm sorry. That's why we look a little different than Africans because I see it. Now other people might not want to say it, but I see the difference. We have a different look, and which make us a different tribe. It's like when they start when once however it mixed. You see what I'm saying? Through slavery, through the African part and the Indian part, which still look for some reason because you know those people that are really dark and they indigenous. What movie was that I was looking at? But they got different hair. I don't know.
The
Maybe you know
Aboriginals.
the Aboriginals, yes, and they look a different than Africans too. But I mean, if we all mixed in as far as making babies and all, we ended up looking like how we do now. Our facial structures. I got a pointy nose. All of that is just so. It's just different. The narrowness. It's like Africans have a different look. I'm not saying that some of them don't look like
Not
us,
even that. The culture is just totally different. Some things they do
but
we
I'm
wouldn't
saying I can
do.
see why we have them and it and that in our blood, which makes us new beings. So, I don't know. I'm sorry that I stopped your wisdom dots. You can go ahead and say whatever you're about to say. Look at
Why are you
Sakina.
apologizing?
Look at Sakina.
There's no need to apologize.
Got no African in her.
No need to
I
apologize.
what?
I wanted to go back to the conversation that we were having in regards to um, 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 the African naval having strong navals or having strong navies, right? Now, I do know that Axum, for certain, definitely developed into a strong naval territory, right? The Kingdom of Axum. Um, Outside of that, I also know when you mentioned the Phoenicians, I do agree with you um, in terms of their seafaring knowledge. However, it definitely was one of the pharaohs of Egypt that financed that. Over time, though, we start to hear names like Ibn Battuta when you're talking about Marco Polo, Mansa Musa, right? So even when I think in terms of the context, when I think of strong naval powers, if you will, there was a driving need. There was a real critical need for Europeans, right? For example, to start exploring and coming into the coast of Africa, be it North Africa, East Africa, South Africa, West Africa. They didn't get that far south in that. West Africa, North Africa, East Africa, for example, right? In terms of just their knowledge and their base, the reason why they had to is because this is a fact, right? That continent alone is extremely wealthy. So things like gold, frankincense, things that had some real value financed a lot of these European naval ships to even travel. And I always chuckle in a way because yes, the Portuguese were definitely known as one of the best seafarers, right? Like that, they were very knowledgeable about the sea. However, we also see that as Europeans began to use the waterways, right? They began to travel around the continent. They couldn't have been that dope or that strong or that knowledgeable because they made a mistake. That's how they got to the Americas in the first place, right?
Right.
And so I know that the conversation kind of moved on, but I just needed to insert that, right? Because in fact, we do know, and that's just a fact, right? That gold and other natural resources that were in abundance definitely financed a lot of the war. So that doesn't take away also, and I know I mentioned this a lot, where oftentimes we'll take the good and not the bad, right? So I'm not here to say as if it was some peaceful time and there was no type of conflict. That's quite foolish, right? It's in my opinion, it's sort of like human nature to always want to take over something, always wanting more, never being satisfied kind of
True.
thing. So I just wanted to insert that, right? So definitely we got to give major credit to Axum. And nowadays Ethiopia in that area, which would make sense because that, as we know, regionally, geographically, East Africa, right, is literally a boat ride away from what we identify as the Middle East today.
So we couldn't come up with nothing to get us from there to there. Come on now.
And the thing, we do see the trade. We see the remnants of trade. We see the tomatoes coming in their dishes. We see different things that are indigenous to America coming to Africa. So
Yeah, but
we don't
who
have
bringing them though? That's why we have to bring in the
I was just
Phoenicians.
about to say that.
The
But yeah.
Phoenicians. That's why the Phoenicians come in because the Phoenicians built colonies in Africa, and so through their
Oh, you cut
I
out.
think you got quiet again. Where you say you stopped
It
at
brought a
cut
lot
somewhere.
you.
in.
It cut you.
Yeah, it keeps
So yeah, the
lagging.
Phoenicians ran that trade system. The Phoenicians ran that trade system for the Africans continent went.
But yeah, I can agree with that. I would just say, as far as when it comes to the Phoenicians, I don't know if we know who they were and all of what they are. I think they told us the Levant, and they've given us like three countries: Israel, Jordan, and around there. But we don't know if they could have gone even farther into the Nile Valley because they kind
Well,
of gave
come
us
watch my lecture Friday. I'll tell you what they say.
okay. I will.
Brother
The
La, what do
bloodline.
you think about all this? Brother La, can you hear me? Assalamu alaikum. What you
Walaikum
think about
salam.
all this? Being Muslim.
A lot of kufa and shake.
Uh-oh.
Oh, good. Glad I asked.
Sources.
One, you said, brother, that they were transporting heroin, correct?
Ooh,
Correct. I did say that.
put myself on mute. Okay.
That being the case, we know scientifically, really, that's impossible to carry heroin from that distance at that time across salt water. Because just as well as cocaine,
Uh-oh.
heroin would be destroyed in salt water.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Uh-oh.
Where my bomb at? I should have had the bomb.
Uh-oh. So you saying what I said that it was the people, huh?
So
It was
I
the
would ask you
people,
this:
huh?
why was cocaine found in Ramsey's DNA if it couldn't be
Because you
transported?
said yourself Ramsey wasn't getting on no shit.
I know that the dope man pulled up. He had a bag.
On that
Ramsey.
note, I'm getting off for the channel, man. Y'all be good, man.
Now don't go nowhere because you made
Brother,
a
like, why you start that and then rent? Now see, go on and get him then, Top Cat, because
I
he
mean,
just
he
why
really ain't start shit. He buck danced and then he ran
he ain't do no
because
buck dance. Y'all,
I
La
told him the
la
last
la
time. I told him the
la
last
la
time I was gonna roll up on him
la.
after I found out if the Quran came out of the Bible. I told him I was gonna come and question him about that, but he rolled
You gonna
out.
make
the Quran don't come out no Bible. That
the
part.
Bible came from the Quran.
And Top Cats, before you go, can you tell everybody about your lecture on Friday and just where people can find it?
I'm so sick of Marcus. If you don't come on in and stop,
Open, come back, cause you
come on,
got knowledge.
Marcus.
I
Delaware
like
in the
Marcus.
house. Come on, Marcus. Come on there. I
You know
sent
you
it
got
there.
knowledge, but you know the Bible came
Let me put it back
out
in
of the
there.
Quran. Take time. You know better than that. Take time. You know better than that.
Well, y'all playing today. They playing. I'm telling, talking about.
Happy Father's Day,
Oh,
belated Father's Day. You know
I
better than that one though.
I have a source that's saying as far back as 40,000 years ago, ancient Africans were building ships. So
Okay. That part. Now see, that's what that European boy was saying the other day on size, remember? He was
They
saying
right,
had
that
two
there was
ships.
ships that because everybody was asked because Unc asked the question, how did the Aboriginal people get over on these things? You remember that? Open the knowledge when that question was asked? And then the white boy
His
said he
name is Old
was saying
World
it like
Florida, and I'm trying to get
that.
him
Okay,
over to you.
Florida.
But his name is Old World
Old
Florida.
World Florida. I want to say the European person. Um, Old World Florida. Okay, thank you, Dulcinea. And he
All right,
said
they
that
have one ship in the museum.
on some ships, some big
Yeah.
ships, some giant people, some really tall people was on these ships and stuff. Remember, he was saying that, open the knowledge. He was saying that because I can ask Top Cats, how do people get over here?
mm,
Daughter Ally, the South of Sage podcaster. If the
Go ahead.
Quran actually
Wait a minute,
edifies the
wait a minute, wait a
KJV,
minute.
then that means that the
Okay,
Quran.
please. Can we
Well, I'm
please?
just saying, if it edifies the KJV, then that means that the KJV came from the Quran. It can't edify something unless the KJV came from it.
So I'm just saying, could you answer that question, Top Cats?
man. What was the question again?
How did the people get over here on these lands?
Well, people originate here through their ordinance story. As far as my tribal story, um, Genesis, it say we came from America. We was nowhere else but America.
And Marcus, I was looking it up. They do say the 1800s, but I found dishes that are in Africa that were using tomatoes that were before the 1800s.
And they were called tomatoes because they were smaller. They were the little green ones and not the big ass green and red ones, right? When you look up a tomato from, especially now, because they use gas and stuff to blow up fruit. Not the green tomatoes like the ones we grow and get now, but I'm talking about before. Food don't look the same as it once did because they do stuff to edify it, I guess, or make it organic now. But like bananas, they put them in gas chambers and whatnot, and they blow them up to make them huge like that. Bananas are not really that big.
Mm. Oh, the little teeny bananas. I know what you're talking about.
Exactly. The teeny bananas are actually the real bananas, but when you get them that big, they actually have put them in chambers to blow them up and stuff to make them that big. So some of the fruit and stuff that we eat are not actually the way it is. Like when you buy certain stuff, you'll notice it's wax and whatnot on it. So if you don't buy the brush to brush your fruit and your food, your vegetables and stuff, you wouldn't even know it. That's why you buy the Arm& Hammer baking soda and you rinse it off, or the vinegar or whatever. And you actually have to scrub because they put plastic wax and stuff over your fruits and vegetables to try to make it last longer and all this other stuff. But some of this stuff they actually do blow up and do a lot of stuff to it to make it look better or juicier or whatever. And that's why some of it is not as sweet or what have you like it used to be.
But Comcast never answered my question.
I'm sorry, what was it?
How they get there?
How did they get to America?
Yeah.
They've been here since time immemorial. They created them here in America.
All right.
He's saying they're indigenous to America. Like there's never been another place where some people are from. They're always been in America and their origin.
And the way I can believe that, in a way.
I mean, everybody different. Like you brought up the Aboriginals in Australia. They don't look like nobody.
Well, not
They don't.
necessarily indigenous because his people come from Switzerland. And then they go from
I have admixtures.
to Portugal. And then we go to, so yeah, no. So technically
Right.
that's not
But
indigenous.
I think that's kind of hard to
Well,
go by phenotype too, because people's families don't even look the same. Like how Open the Knowledge didn't
That was my
know
point.
that
I
my
agree.
husband's sister is his sister. Like they
Of
don't
course.
all look alike. They don't all have the same complexions, and they don't all have the same features. So I think that's kind of hard too when people are saying, "Oh, I can look at an African and tell they're African," but versus not.
Right.
How are you doing that if you can look at people's families and not tell that they're from
Right.
the same family?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. But I was specifically referencing in terms of the, always been here. But I was saying like, but his people haven't always been here, right? They came from Switzerland and they came from Portugal.
well,
So
I
what I'm
say
saying
this.
is by default, right? They were somewhere else. They were not in the Americas. I'm talking specifically about Top Cat's comment.
Right. So I say, when we go back, the further you go back in your genealogy, the more and more ancestors you have. So we have, it's a long story, but for as so yeah, there are admixtures. So you may have 8 great grandparents. Um, all of them, can have different backgrounds. And
Right.
so that's why I say the importance of genealogy and actually going through and building the tree, finding your ancestors, finding their brothers and sisters because they may have different fathers, and that leads to different stories because it's still your siblings. So I like to just go by the what we can find, and so that's why I like to track the people to get the names, their stories, and where they're actually from. So for as admixtures, yes, ma'am, I do have admixtures, but far as why I lean towards my Indian lineage is because my families were like my grandmother. They come off the reservation, so here now through my trail of my family lineage, where I'm birthed in, where I come in, that my family are identifying as American Indians, and so to rather the admixtures came into American Indian lineages, and we're a matrilineal society here, so it goes through your mothers, and so that's why I lean more because, like I say, my grandmothers, they brought me into it as they told me and brought my understanding to that we were American Indians,
Right. Mm.
acknowledging the admixtures, and that's why I can point out who's who and where they're from and their family stories.
So none of your great 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 grandparents had any African blood. None of them.
No, ma'am, not that I have found.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
Open the knowledge. Did you want to
Well,
say
well,
something? You've been
well,
very quite
can
patient. I know
uh,
you wanted to.
I, before I pass the mic, I want to say this. I think that was very disingenuous of you, sister, to you know, respond in that way because I was honest to say that I've never found any African ancestry. So,
Who,
because if I
me?
no, I
No,
think it was
me.
Misha. And
Oh,
so because if I was to ask you that question to identify or say the name of your African ancestor, you wouldn't be able to do that.
No,
And
that's
so
not true. I've done my line. I've done mine. What I'm saying
so
is
do you
that
so are you saying, are you insinuating that you do know the name of your African ancestor?
no, I don't know. No, I told you that before. I don't know
Right.
the name of my African ancestor,
So it shouldn't be a
but
problem if I'm saying I haven't
I don't
found
know
any
the
proof.
original name. Put it like that. I know the name that was changed. I
So
don't
that's
know the original, and that's the thing. But just to say my thing, and I don't think it was disingenuous, and I apologize if I made you feel any
nah,
type
it's
of
cool,
way.
it's cool, it's cool.
But my point is that everybody see what it is that you taking on that one side, your maternal side.
But I'm
So
not
just
taking on it because I'm acknowledging. That's how y'all know my family came from Switzerland. That's how y'all know I have Scottish. That's how I know I have a French ancestor. That's how I know I have a Spanish ancestor.
but
Like,
no African ancestor. Why
no, no.
not?
Well, if I
Why
had an
can't it
African,
be
well,
true?
I say this, Mama. If I had an African ancestor, I would be proud to acknowledge who my people are. That's why I'm not afraid to say my other admixtures. I don't. I'm. This is my thing. And when I came to the game, people were saying they were full-blooded Indians because it was a bad thing. It was like you either African, Indian, or you white, Mexican. You know, they had it divided like that. And so my methodology, I came through and I was able to get people to be honest with everything and unbiased with what they were looking for and to accept whatever it is that they find because they wouldn't be here without it. And so we shouldn't let a doctrine or any peer pressure from any outside sources or anything that's going against, what we had believed to be true, because the truth is that we are made up of our bloodline, so we can only be the makeup of our bloodline. So that's why I say I honor everything on my tree, whether they was a colonizer, whether it was a white boy, whether it was whoever. So I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't leave out the African because I believe in the power and that I get my power from my ancestors. So I would stand on that. So no, ma'am, it's not coming from a biased place. I'm one who lives with Africans. I had respect with Africans. When I lived overseas, it was Africans who I hung around every day, showed me the way. And I have multiple African friends in my WhatsApp. So I don't. I'm not that type of guy, and I wouldn't do it to just be correct. I'm here to honor everything in my tree because that's what makes me me. I land.
Open to knowledge. Were you gonna jump in here?
Yeah, peace to y'all too, man. In case I didn't say it, man. Peace, Big Chief. Hey, Big Chief, before you leave, man, today you dropped a powerful lecture today, man. Well, should have been a lecture, but I was reading something. It was like 250,000 slaves and enslaved people rather in Galveston, Texas, and they say that they wasn't just African.
Well, I mean, I can take you even deeper and show you. Hold on, I got to go. You probably got to go. Yeah. So I can take you a little deeper because when we was at the museum, the Juneteenth museum, the brother came and acknowledged the fact from 1827 to 1848, the population that was,
I think you blanked that population.
but in 60, the population bloomed to 360,000. So the question is, where did all of these people come from? Because we see the migrations brought in. So he had to come to the understanding after 2 years, as he spoke, but that they had to enslave the people who were already here. The people why we see the number Texas history and we see the laws that's fighting against it. We see the Ashworth Act that wanted to push all blacks out of Texas, even free people out of Texas, because they wanted to get rid of that population that was already there once them settlers created the Declaration of Independence and Constitution. So it was already a black population there in Texas, which, as we see through the wars, the people who were fighting were always indigenous people, and then we'll see their mixed race Spanish counterparts. So it then I did want to add that that's even in the museum, and the brother gave me dab and told me that he's gonna start teaching it that way and include the American Indian point in it, because he brought up the fact that they put the Buffalo Soldier fighting against the Indian. But he understand that his grandma in CD, Texas taught him that the natives in Galveston were Indians. Those were our people. So he been teaching it from the Afrocentric perspective, but he gave me that in his own tape. He understand now because him looking at the numbers, them bringing in only 15,011 in Galveston, but Galveston had 360,000. So that meant that the people that were enslaved were already there. Bars.
Just want to say good night to everyone. Thank you so much. Salute Top Cat. Good night, my sisters. Salute Open to Knowledge.
Good
Thanks
night,
for the
guys.
conversation.
Mm.
Appreciate it all.
Yes, it's always good. Always good.
Bye,
Thank you,
guys. Have a good
guys.
evening. Peace.
All right. Good night.
Well, I want to tie Juneteenth back
Miss Dot,
to
Oh, go ahead.
Yes. Yes.
um, um, which state you from? I'm sorry if we jump off. What state you from again?
I live in New York.
Okay, so born and raised.
Yes, I was born in born and raised right in Harlem. Big
Oh,
up,
you're a
big up.
Harlem girl. Oh, never mind. You crazy. Never mind. I take it back. I
What?
take it back.
What were you gonna say?
Never mind. I'm scared now.
No. What did you
I am scared now.
say?
All right. Have a good night. Yeah, I don't want no trouble
No,
now.
listen. Real talk though. To be quite honest with you, like how they always say, just in terms of like the regional differences, but at the end of the day, you get a New Yorker, you get a solid person on your team, right? You're not gonna be off my square, but it's all in love. So good
Okay.
night, y'all.
Well, I'm
Have
looking
a
for a
good
good
manager,
night.
so I'm gonna reach out to you because I'm looking
peace.
for a manager.
A manager?
Yes,
A manager.
ma'am. Yeah, you're
Oh,
gonna be my
okay.
manager. We gonna talk,
Peace, Top Cats. Bye,
man. Yes,
y'all.
ma'am. Good night.
Hey, good night, honey.
All right, y'all. I'm about to jump out of here too, so I want to appreciate y'all, ladies. Always great host. Shout out to the homie Open, and shout out to Dosey. Um, Bad Girl Dosey. Shout out to Sister Freaking,
Shout
and
out.
shout
Thank
out
you.
to Sister Yah. Shout out to Sister Nisha. Um, Miss Argumentative. Yeah, I always want to argue. I always want to fight. Yeah, don't worry about it. I always want to fight. But now, shout out to y'all. Appreciate y'all again. Thank y'all for y'all hospitality. That's my time, legendary Big Chief Top Cat.
Top
Now,
Cat, wait a minute. Let me ask you a question because opening knowledge, both of y'all. Let me just ask this real quick. Is there a connection between the Hebrew Israelites and the Native Americans? And also, I don't know. I've heard Sakina ask this question, and I'm trying to see where. And I know it's biblical, but the three kings that was bringing the gifts to the baby Jesus. I know that those are make believe stories, but somehow the stories really be talking about real things. You know what I mean? Is there any connections? One of y'all can answer it. Jump right in. At least with the Hebrews.
Unless you talking about after they came in.
The 12 tribes.
And I, like I said, I speak for my state in South Carolina. I see no connection except for when they came in as converts. No, I see no connection with the tribe except for like
But
some of the
the Hebrews, are they
stories.
made up right here in America? The,
I don't get into that. The Hebrews not even in my part of South Carolina. They not in my city at all, baby.
mm. What
Good
about
word.
you, Top Cat?
well, I say this in closing. Sister Dosey told me to talk a little about the lecture that I'm having. I want to invite y'all as special guests. I'll send y'all out some tickets. It'll be Friday. Now I have over 500 slides. I want to warn y'all. Yeah, I'm the real deal. So I do want to warn y'all. There's over 500 slides in there. If y'all can sit through a lecture that long, because I know y'all teachers, they can't teach like that. They ain't got 500 slides worth of that work. But what I would say is this: far as the title or title with Hebrew Israelite on it, yeah, that don't come into the colonizer. When we see someone being called a Jew and a black, and they're quote unquote black, um, then yeah, that's the story of the colonization. After 1492, the Alhambra Decree, we have to remember that after 1492, the Alhambra Decree, the Jews were expelled from Spain. And can I share my screen real quick? The
Sure.
Jews were expelled from Spain along with the Moors, and so a lot of them left. Some of them went into Brazil because they assisted with the overtaking of Jamaica with the British. They also had colonies came to South Carolina in the 1680s, 1686, 1688, and they were able to come there. You know, they were Protestants. They built Kadal Bet Elohim there, one of the oldest here. The first Jews stepped foot in Connecticut. They came under with the Puritans, and they in New Haven, Connecticut, they created it was called a city on the hill, and the city on the hill will be New Israel to them, and so they'll translate the first Bible in from the Algonquin, which is indigenous language, and they'll create the Bible that's called the John Eliot Bible. It's called the Eliot Bible by John Eliot. He split from the guy who brought the Baptist here, Roger Williams. And so, far as a connection of Hebrew Israelites, my story is this: those are labels which were brought to us by the colonizer. Because when we go through history, the people that they're trying to identify with, they have their own names, which means they have their own story. And if we use the title Hebrew, then we'll never know the true story. And so our families, my bloodline, my game is genealogy. If you do your genealogy, that story, your story will tell history. So I have those people that came from Switzerland that came here, where they were Sephardic Jews. All right, they were converso Jews, Sephardi. So I actually have that bloodline. But y'all leave it at that. Before I drop off though, y'all see this right here. This is my lecture. And so this how many slides I have right now. I have to add the rest. I've been gone, so I'm back home now. I get back studying. But Friday, yeah, I do want to invite y'all to come speak about this. We
Okay.
have a lot of that history in there. This is not a lecture with pictures. This is not. I know like a lot of Pan Africans they use like a lot of pictures or whatever, but this ain't no picture. So we'll talk about the Egyptians. We'll talk about all of these people. We'll talk about. Yeah, I don't want to get too much up, but I just want to let y'all know it's not pictures. It's not a picture game. So
Yeah.
uh,
One last question: when we buy the tickets, do we get a Zoom link or?
right, you'll get a link. It'll send a link out to you.
Okay.
Oh, I thought he was just treating us to it. You're not treating us to it.
Yeah, I treat y'all to it. It's cool. It's cool.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you. Now we all got smiles.
yeah, y'all can't go back and give it to y'all Pan African teachers though.
Now
So they can
see,
try to
now
use it.
see,
Yeah,
now
so they can
see.
try to use it
Now
against
why
me.
you have to do that?
But it's true though, ain't that right,
But
Open?
why would we do something like that though? Don't
Because
do
y'all
that
don't
to
like the
us.
Indians.
Huh?
Because y'all don't like the Indians.
I
We
am
have
one, so
no
how you gonna
problem with
say
India.
that? We all are one. We all have it in us. How can you say that?
Not Nisha.
Yes,
Yeah.
she does. Look at her.
Actually, I can even show y'all on my thing, but even going back on my father's side, I do. But
You can look at her and
So
see
why
it.
you don't claim that then? Why you
Ain't
always
her
Because
talking
skin
about
right,
damaged.
damage?
It's
he
not even
does.
about claiming anything. Okay, so I know that, and I don't make a big deal of it because what really does it mean to me
It mean,
today?
It
do
means
you?
a lot. You
Who
know what,
told
Nisha?
you?
No, it
Let me
But
say
don't.
who?
this.
It really
But
don't.
how did you find out though, Nisha? How did you find out that you had Indian ancestors?
I
Genealogy.
because I knew that from a lady that I saw, which was my great great aunt, and I saw it, and I actually remember her. I was probably was like 7 or 8 years old, but I remember seeing her, and she gave me some necklaces, and my daddy always told me, and I do even when I took the ancestry, I do have some percentages of indigenous. But I actually physically laid my eyes on this lady, and you could tell all day long, and because
Yeah,
her hair was to the crack of her butt,
that's
and
how
it
my
was,
great grandmother's
and I
was.
remember it was gray and black. But I know that, right? But still,
And you met her before, you say, right?
yeah, I did. I met
Have
her
you
when
ever met one of your African ancestors who knew they was Africans and
I knew.
could tell
No, I
you who they
haven't.
were and their family?
What I know is that I do know of probably about a 7 time grandfather, maybe. Um, I knew that he was from Africa, but as time goes by, you don't keep that name that you had before. Your name getting changed. So by you asking me if I knew the name, no, I don't know the name, the original name, but I do know the name that was given, that was changed
How did you get
Right.
that? How did you get the name that was given?
by records.
So the record don't show that who it originally was. What about like a ship manifest? There, because they would have the
It was
original
all
name
on
See,
the
on
I want to know
records,
that
and I
too.
got that. But what I'm saying is, at that time, it was numbers.
And
seven generations ago.
tribal
That'll put
names,
you. What
they
would
didn't
that
have
put you
last
at?
names.
What year? What year would that put you in? Seven great ancestors.
What year would have put who me?
Yeah. What year would he be born in?
It was like I think 1700s probably.
Not seven. You ain't that old now. Stop it.
No, that's what I was asking you.
Yeah,
Him?
seven go back to the 18. So
No,
No, what you get
seven.
me
Her
confused?
is
What are you
like
talking about?
seven.
yeah,
She's right
seven
about that, Top Cats.
seven to go back to the 1800s.
1600s almost, because you gotta think about it.
No,
Even
not
with my
seven. You
grandfather.
guys, it's not that
But let
old.
me
Like,
let me say
it's
why
I
I'm
not.
think I
saying it
saw it.
though.
I think it was 17. He was born in 1712 or 1716.
And I can believe that because my grandfather alone was born 1922. So now we're
Yeah,
taking his father into the
in the
1800s.
1800s, right?
And then
Okay,
his
okay.
father, that's only the third one, is in the early part of the 1800s. So the fourth one is now in the 17s.
Okay, okay, I get it. Now y'all older than me. You right. I'm looking at it from my age. My bad.
So I'm just
I'm a
saying.
youngster.
Now, well, let me ask you this. So since Nisha brought that up, and the tribes didn't have last names; they had tribal names, and they had numbers, like she said. They had tribal names. They didn't have no last names like Quarles. That man, Captain Ralph Quarles, came over. That's how the slaves that he made us into slaves when he got over is how we got the last name Quarles.
He make y'all enslave y'all family. That's y'all, you kids. That's your granddaddy.
I know, but I'm just saying. I know that, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, nah, you gotta be proud of him because you gotta
No, I
live
don't
that.
have to be proud of that white man.
He not white.
That Captain Ralph Quarles,
Let me show
yes.
you. I'm gonna bring the information to you. I'm gonna shock you. I told you I grew up with the quarrels here, and he the one taught me. He the one showed me about the Civil War records. He showed me about the book,
Mighty
Mark
light then.
Twain, all of that. I
There
think
was mighty
he put the
light.
money up. He the one taught me that they family was black. I grew up with
I'm not
him my
saying that
whole.
they wasn't
I'm gonna
black.
show
I'm
you
just
that the
saying that
Captain
that
Black.
man.
He showed me the Captain Black. I'm gonna try to get him to bring all of his family records because they kept all of them. They have all of them. They had the Bibles and everything with the names of the families written in there and everything. So I want to show you that they migrated here to Texas, and I'm gonna show you he was black. And if he black, You better honor your granddaddy, because a lot of people,
Okay.
granddaddy
I
ain't
don't got
made
no
no.
problem with that.
Yeah, they ain't made the sacrifices that your
Well, he
people,
must have
your
been very
family made.
light because the pictures I seen, the man looked
Nah,
like.
they fake. Them fake pictures. You know, anybody can draw a picture. So, but I'm gonna bring you the information that's gonna describe him, his complexion, and how he looked, and everything, and show you his the records from their deeds on their land and everything,
Uh-huh.
what they were classified as.
But do you agree with Nisha when she said they had tribal names?
You would have to know what you would know your tribal name.
I think mine was
That's why
supposed
our grandparents tell us what tribe we come from. Like when I went down there to Galveston, I asked everybody. It wasn't one person down there that didn't know that they were Indian. All of them said it. I met 77-year-old women, and these are people from Galveston. They know their stories. I met people who were from Indian chiefs, fourth great grandpas, Indian chiefs. Like I asked the people unscripted, and everyone knows this. Our families are telling this. So it's crazy to think, just like we know who our mother and father is, they know who their mothers and fathers are, and so our families tell us, and they tell us young. So everyone in here who know that they have Indian ancestry, they family didn't tell them when they was older. You learn that when you young, and I think that's a point that's being missed. You know that our families are telling us this, but when we come out, you have science, anthropology, society. You can learn this shit in school. You have Africana
yeah.
studies. You have these type of things in school, and we have to be graded on this. Even if our family tell us one thing, but we have to put down something different in order to get this credit out of this class. So it's a system that was created to take our minds away from what our family, or replace our stories. So
Because
we've
then
been
they
given,
can take our
we,
lands and they can say that
and
they
they
there.
and they took the land. So when we look at the first reparation movement in the '80s with the farmers, the black farmers, HR 40 came. But the call for reparations was the land that had been stolen from 1863, I mean 1861, all the way up into the 20th century. Millions of acres were stolen from people out of the South, even through the 20th century, the burning of the black towns and all of this land was stolen. So this our generation of wealth. If we go under these classifications of Africa, we have no reason to fight for the land. If we accept these stories that we can't find our history, or we have no history, we would take it from another land. We're not going to fight for the land that's under us. We're not going to look in our genealogy and see that we are heirs to this, that our family fought, our family signed these treaties, our family, these towns are named after our families. We built the railroads and these systems in America up, and we know none of these contributions because we've lost connection to our roots of our family. And the only way you can get that if you do your genealogy and go back and really find out who you are, your family, and your contributions. And a lot of us come from powerful people that made great contributions, but we'll never know if we accept what society is giving us. But I close on that. I got to get out of here, y'all. It's getting late on my end.
Peace.
Okay.
Thank you for coming through.
Thank you so
All right,
much for
y'all.
sharing.
All right. Good night, ladies.
Good night, brother.
Good night.
Shem and Hotep.
Okay. Well, before I was going to get it back to Juneteenth, but open and knowledge, did you want to say something?
No, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. How y'all doing tonight?
Hey, opening.
Good, brother.
All right, all
Peace.
right.
We're doing good. I wanted to come and I don't know if I'm piggybacking on what Nisha is saying either, but I'm just going to speak my mind and then you can tell me if you kind of think the same type of thing. But I do believe, genealogy is a great thing of knowing who your family was or anything. But from my Juneteenth experience, I actually got to meet this wonderful, I guess you can call her a so-called black woman. I don't know. She lived in this condominium, and you go up to the pool and you can see the Houston skyline. Like it was beautiful. She's worked with Jay-Z, Beyonce, Anderson Paak. She has her own line and different things like that. And I know when my grandma was growing up, she wanted to be a dancer. She left home to dance at 16 because her parents were so strict, only to get with an abusive husband that she ended up trying to kill because he was more abusive and non-supporting than her actual parents. So we focus kind of on these identities a lot of the time of just being like who that is who we are. But I think our ancestors want us to really be who we are, like be who we want to be, dream. They were working on the fact that they had dreams that they couldn't fulfill because they were slaves or owned or anything. And now we're in this predicament where it's not perfect right now, but we can actually dream and push for our dreams to become reality. And I think that kind of gets lost in all this sometimes because we want to relive the past instead of being who we're supposed to be.
Come on. Come on.
I totally agree with that. I mean, I 100% agree with that, and that's why
Me too.
I always say that. I understand who our ancestors. I don't know if it's like if it make people feel some type of greatness or like what is it? I mean, I don't know. Like, what does it do? Does it do something for the dopamine, or I mean, what does it do for you? I mean, okay, so our ancestors, I got some of everything in my line, okay, and what?
I think if it can be a great thing if you call upon your ancestors, if you hone into them for
There
you
you
to
go.
be who you're going to be and it motivates you to that. But I think if that's your sole purpose in life and then that's just the excuse, well, someone owned land before in our line, well, can we come together and create a town now and have things going for us right now? And then it's like, oh,
Without
well, we're not really worried about that. We're kind of find out who your great 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 grandma is. Like it should be a combined. We have to find a way to combine this because really, if we're going to make our ancestors proud, we have to utilize what we have, what they fought for us to have. They fought for us to be in the position that we are now. And we're here complaining too, like, oh, we don't have Juneteenth off. Well, what do we need to do to get to that point? What do we need to say when we're in the job interviews to say, hey, I won't come work for you if you don't acknowledge that Juneteenth is a federal holiday and it should be paid off for me because this is my ancestry. So if you don't want that, then I can move on to the next company. And we need to start doing things like that because we're such a people that's just pressed upon. We're just asking for everything. We're asking the government for help. We're asking for clean water. We're asking for food. But if this is true about all our ancestors, then that should motivate us to say they didn't ask for any of that stuff. They just went and got it. So that should be motivating us to do the same.
right. Instead of saying we at one point we used to say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. And now we saying, but I might not be black. But we saying at the same time, y'all, come on. You see what I'm saying? So let's
Yeah.
it's not about having we trying to say have dignity and stop digging it in me. You see what I'm saying? That's all it is. If we can all just come together and just have the dignity and stop digging it out of me, and just hold that part. Because that's what, in the end, that's what the ancestors fought for. To have your dignity and stop just being looked at like you were this curse. And now we looking at us as it's a curse. It's always been the light skinned against the dark skin. And you see what I'm saying? And no matter how you look at it, either we from Africa or we're not from Africa, or we're Indian and now we're not Indian. It's always been that. But at the same time, at the end, you still gonna be my sister.
And I have to say something to that too, Sister Freedom. I apologize if for the red tint thing or anything, because I
Mhm.
really did have a friend that's your color, and
Mhm.
she just would be like, "I'm light skinned, I'm not dark skinned," and so maybe I was a little triggered to be like, "You don't have a red tint," because you do have a red tint, but it's just I want you to know that you're chocolate as well. You're in the dark skin, and
Well,
there's
I'm definitely chocolate, but I do have a red tone. I
You see
actually
what I'm saying?
use a little foundation because it's very like when I have no blemishes, no marks or nothing. I just like foundation, but If I took it off right now, you'd see the red tone. It's all over me.
And at the end of the day, red, dark, whatever, what you still my damn sister.
It's like a brick color.
Facts.
What difference is all at the end of the day? You my sister. Let somebody say the wrong thing.
And
That's the
some sisters
only thing
are
that's gonna matter.
chosen. It's not all about your bloodline either, in that fact,
Come
because
on.
blood isn't always thicker than water. So sometimes your bloodline, they just ain't it. And then you have a sister that's not your bloodline, but that's your sister. That is your sister in every sense of the word. So
Mm-hmm.
And so we got to get that part back. And then we'll have the community, we'll have the unity. We ain't got to build, we just need to rebuild. We need to fix. And then we'll have the pride in Juneteenth, because Juneteenth freed all the slaves, and they were all different colors, but they were still called what? Negroes. How about that word? Because I bet you everybody sitting on this panel, except for Open, birth certificate says, and probably Dawson.
no, my birth certificate says black. Don't do me.
Right, yours
Don't
says
do
black, but
me.
ours says Negro. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, okay.
Ours says
When did it
Negro.
stop saying
So,
Negro?
you know,
I thought it
well,
said black for all of us.
no. See what I'm saying? So here we go. That's a whole nother conversation. So
Right.
if see what I'm saying? So the classification, we can say what we wanna, but when they changed the law, didn't mean if it isn't documented, it didn't happen.
And
And see,
for my
that's
parents
the
too.
law.
It says
If it
they're
ain't
black.
documented, it didn't happen. And I done went and got my birth certificate a few times. You see what I'm saying? And mine still say that magic word, Negro.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
My brothers and my mom said, and I got a copy of my mom's, and it still say colored. So if you were black, you were lucky, because my kids are the only African Americans I know. So I know how to make African Americans. You rub two Negroes together, right? And that's how you get an African American. I know you
I
rub
love Beyonce. She
two
said you
colors
mix that
together, and
Negro with that
you'll get a
Creole.
Negro, and that's how you get a Negro. You rub two colors together, and you'll get a Negro. I guess I don't know how you get a black one. Dawson, yeah, I'm gonna have to ask your
Yeah,
mom because I
I
don't
don't know.
know.
But I was looking it up.
You one of
A
the
lot of
special
our
class.
grandparents, like my grandma's Maddie Lee, and I was looking at Opal Lee, and her grandma was Maddie something else, but she's Opal Lee. So I was like, oh, okay, wow. So I was looking up Maddie, and I was like,
Negro is
okay,
black and
that's a
Spanish.
French origin. So that's the Creole. The Creole is the Maddies. I didn't know that.
Negro is black and Spanish. So Dawson, was you born in Spain?
No, I wasn't born in Spain. No,
Okay,
I'm
because
I'm actually the
the Y
Negro mixed
said
with
black is
Creole.
an adjective though.
But
Negro is
it's
U.S.
my
citizen.
dad. It's
So
my dad that got this the Spain origins of Dulcinea, and he named me Dulcinea. My mom was gonna
were
completely
you
just
born
go
in
straight make
America?
up some African stuff that wasn't even. She wasn't even like Sister Freedom was like I was gonna use Africa. No, my mom was like not Africa Nakima. She wanted to do Afrika Nakima. Like why? Why would you just have everybody make fun of me? But anyway, my dad stopped it. And I think he always planned for my name to be Dulcinea and for me to know that history in Spain. But he just let her act like she was gonna name me.
So because your dad was Spanish, you had to be Spanish too, I guess, hey?
No, it was more culturally what the story meant to him, and then that
No, that
it's
I'm talking about far as your birth certificate, even though you were born in the US. Is that why you
yeah.
because
That's
why would
why I'm saying it's more so what the name meant. That's why I'm saying too your identity really when it comes to these ancestors because my dad is my ancestor now. I
no, I'm
know
not saying that. I'm
firsthand
saying why did your
that they
birth
don't
certificate says
exactly because
black?
it was what that story was. It's what Dulcinea meant. That's
No,
why he
not your
named me
name, boo.
Dulcinea.
I'm talking about why does your status say that you are black and not Negro, not colored,
Oh
or not
yeah, I
African
guess
American?
that's because even on the birth certificate it says both of them were black. It says my mom 20
So
was 33 and black. My dad was 38 and black. It says their job. I don't know if everyone has it like that. It said their job at the time. So my mom was a store clerk. It says my dad was in computers, and
On your birth certificate?
on my birth certificate, yes.
So well, they must have had passports.
My dad
My birth
definitely had a
certificate don't say
passport.
all
He's
that,
been
and I was born in
multiple
Chicago.
countries.
My birth certificate don't come with all that information like that.
It did for me. I don't know, but yeah, and it says we all were black.
Mm-hmm.
Could be Texas vitals too, because I have to figure out other people's vitals.
Okay, yeah. Somebody said, Marcus said it changed over the years depending on the year and the state and was not. It said, yeah, that's very much true because it got my dad age and my mom age and name and all, but it don't have all that other stuff on there.
In
So
Georgia, it does too.
yeah, maybe the black people got some different stuff, you know. Was you born? Yeah, I was born. Yay! I was born. I was born in Chicago.
Mm.
You want to know the year? I was born in these streets, raised in these streets, walked in these streets, taught by. No, I wasn't talking about nothing. During the pandemic. No, I was born way before COVID. Whew. During the pandemic, because the people were in charge, they are destined to control it. You damn right about that, Niambi. Okay, I'm sorry, y'all. Thank you, Chad. I love talking to y'all too.
Yeah.
Okay, what happened? I'm sorry.
Go in, open the knowledge. Were you coming?
I'm listening. What you want me to go? I'm listening right
Oh, I
now.
thought you were trying to say something. I didn't know if you were
Oh
trying to.
no. I wasn't trying to say nothing.
Oh,
Except that some of the people in the chat, man, put the link in, man. Some of them need to come in. I hear a lot of important stuff. I see a lot of important stuff in the chat that people need to come
okay.
up and talk about, man. Those,
Yeah, I would
you know what
love
I
for
mean?
Dawood or Marcus
Yeah.
to actually come up, but sometimes they get stuck in the chat and then they just typing away and not coming up.
Thank you, Marcus. I remember my birth certificate is old because I remember my first Social Security card. I lost it about maybe 15 years ago. It was a actual gold card. Do you remember that, Freedom? She must be asleep. I'm sorry. Yeah, your actual first Social Security card was almost like a gold credit card.
I think I've seen one, and mine wasn't that, but I think I've
Yeah.
seen one because we did have all the records. We really literally had all the records, but life, other people, I wasn't an adult at the time. And then it's stuff like other things that happened with records that my brother had and lost and stuff like that. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think I have seen the gold ones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
credit cards weren't out yet or nothing, but that's how your first original Social Security card used to look.
yeah, but I think I've always, or for a long time, I've had the blue one. I think, yeah, from what I can remember, my son's Social Security card looks just like how mine looked.
Mm-hmm. I think, do they still do baby birth certificates with the feet print on the bottom, with the ink blot with the feet print on the bottom?
Yeah, I think you can. I don't know if you can request or not or indifferent, but I have that.
Yeah, see, they used to automatically do that when you had your baby. They would put the footprint on the bottom of the birth certificate and the handprint on the bottom of the birth certificate automatically.
But I didn't have him in a hospital. I had him in a natural birthing center, so no one could believe like I was out of there by 4 a.m. They were like, "What do you mean you're going home?" I was like, "Yeah." So I came in, had the baby at 11:11, and then took a bath. All this other, I took the bath that I was supposed to give birth in, and but by that time I was already giving birth, and then got ready and went home, ate a little bit something, and then went home.
Wow. I congratulate you.
So let me ask, open the knowledge a question. So, by you being would you classify yourself as, sir? I just want to make sure I have.
He went off. I don't see him on there anymore.
How you got a question for me and don't even know what I classify myself as?
Because
See,
it just
you just want to start contention, Nisha. I swear
Oh, I
to
thought you was
God.
asking top cats.
Yeah, I
Okay, I'm
swear. Go
sorry.
ahead, go ahead.
I want to know what do you think in your lineage?
What do you
I
mean by
know you
what?
got the African part, but what's the other part?
You know, I got the what part?
African, because I know you acknowledged it, but
Mm.
what's the other side?
Indian. I mean, I probably got other stuff in too, like you know what I mean, from the mulatto side, yeah, like European, some type of European. I mean,
Hmm. Okay, I was just curious, sir.
and next question.
I ain't got nothing else to say.
You see how easy that was to acknowledge all my sides? Okay, why you
you
can't
got
do
you
that?
got you got time to throw up that
We all
presentation
do
right
that.
quick?
Acknowledge all our
Huh?
sides.
You
We
got
all
time
do
to throw up
that.
that Indian presentation right quick?
You talking about the article from the other night?
Yeah.
Um, I think Dosanea had pulled it up. I don't know if this computer will stay on. I have to cut off my phone and log back on, but um,
Come on,
I know y'all
Juju.
gonna be on for a second. I don't know. If not, I'll
Shimon
be on.
Hotel.
If
So you
not,
gotta
I run to the house. And
Exactly, Juju. That's the difference between us. They always say that we hate Indians, but it's not. It's that they are
I didn't
saying
say
they are
that.
everything but African, and we're just
not
saying
true.
us over here, we're African too. And we're taught. And that's where I don't understand why it's not respected a little bit that my grandma told me I was everything. And my grandma said, "Hey, not everybody is everything, but you're African too."
That's
I
that part.
respect that, man. I can't tell you about what your grandmama say that your grandmama no liar, and that's why I don't get into any of those conversations because when somebody asks you something and you seriously say my grandmama or my grandfather told me or my great grandmama or my great grandfather told me, people be like, oh, it's that great grandfather or great grandmama or grandmama story. That's a sign of fucking disrespect to us.
Come
You
on.
know what
Not
I
only
mean?
that,
Especially,
yeah.
you know,
And I see Juju.
word.
Hey, Juju. Juju said, want to be everything except African. It's not that you don't want to be African, but when you do your lineage, it keeps taking you back to this side, and you got to take your DNA to even see that you got the blood of an African in you. Because when I did mine, when I do my genealogy, everything stays in these lands here in America, all the way back to the 1600s,
But I'm
all the way
saying
back.
for some of us,
But
Sister Freedom,
but
because
wait a
some
minute.
of us were
But,
passed down the oral history that we're African. So
right.
we
But
understand
wait,
that for
but wait, you didn't let me finish. But when we did the DNA, that's where we seen the Nigerian, the African. But at first I was confused about it. I told you
yeah, and
that
I
I was
would say,
confused
well, some
about it.
people are gonna say that's because the DNA test is fake. Some people will say because the
I'm not
DNA
agreeing with
test can go
that.
back further than
It
the
it told me my
I'm
family history.
acknowledging, yeah, I'm acknowledging the other sides of me, and I haven't taken no DNA test. That's from doing genealogy. That's what I find doing genealogy. Like Top Cat said, the people that's doing their genealogy, if they don't want to acknowledge they admixture, then something is wrong. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I'm one of those ones that acknowledge the admixture. And I know that just from talking to mama, daddy, grandmama, and grandfather. You know, so when I do the DNA, I hope everything match up. Everything should match up in the line. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that's all. I hope so. Yeah.
Well, that's how we could see our connection. Then that's how we could see it. But other than that, when I was doing it, I was like, but where the hell? You know what I'm saying? But you gotta remember you got two parents. You got the grandfather and grandmother. That's what people forget. They be doing one side and not the other.
yeah, it's two grandmothers and two grandfathers because you have your mom
Right.
and your dad
I know
too.
what you're saying.
But
That's right.
yeah.
Right. Thank you, Dustin. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. I was just acknowledging what you're saying is right. And then people, yeah, they'll do one grandma or just like an example, or just like go through one line, go through kind of the other line, but they're still missing people that don't get a knowledge that could be other things. But yeah, I definitely understand. It's just to accept it all that we're different people. You know, I my grandma being from Louisiana, Shreveport, Louisiana, and her being like a caramel light skin color, and then my granddad being mixed mulatto that was straight up albino, and they came together and made someone darker than me. It let me know because a lot of people have that colorism thing. They think, oh, dark only comes from certain people, and you have to be dark or anything, or oh, she had to have a baby by someone else. You know, all this other stuff that you just don't understand how melanin works, and melanin can be passed down and different ancestors or anything. So I think the only thing is when we get caught up in what we think we know, what we think could happen, how we think this parents come together and have children, and their complexion and what their phenotype should be, but they can look completely different than both parents and can look like a great grandma down the line. That's how your DNA works, because we don't understand DNA, and that's where I understand people not really trusting tests. They've always told us that 2% of DNA is coding and 98% of DNA is junk. But that's because that's all we know right now. That's all we know of DNA right now. So I don't deny it can find your family members or anything. I just think DNA is greater than what we know. Just like I think melanin, we don't understand it. We don't understand how it works. That's why people hear Creole and the first thing you think is a light skinned girl with
Hmm.
blonde hair and curly and all
And
this
it's
other stuff. You don't think of
Muslim
dark
guy.
like me, but there's so many Creole women that are dark like me. So it's just one of those things that we have all these misconceptions with life, and based on the what's been indoctrinated in us. And that's all other people are saying, is just don't let that indoctrination affect the truth. Because no, you can have two light-skinned people make a chocolate baby. So don't just be thinking that's not your baby now because of colorism. And that's where we're kind of getting the different things of, oh, okay, if there is a holiday that's a shared thing amongst Africans, Africans should celebrate a shared acknowledgement of the suffrage that we've been through in America. And a lot of our ancestors have passed down that oral history to us. So who is anyone to deny the oral history passed down one for another, when your grandparents say that there was slavery, and then you're going to go and say there wasn't slavery, or it wasn't as bad as people make it out to be? Like all that is disrespectful to me. It's not disrespectful because my grandma says she's part Blackfoot, Creole, and African, that I'm not saying I'm solely Blackfoot, and not knowing what Blackfoot really is.
That could just be another name for an African tribe.
Exactly.
It really could be. Mm.
But it really ain't.
You what now? When they
It's
created it,
a
no,
it's
no.
a it's a it's a mixture. It's a mixture. I told you with the Blackfoot, it's a mixture. I didn't say he wasn't African, and I didn't say that. I say the Blackfoot people that I know in South Carolina are a mixture of Africans and Indians. They came up through by Florida and Georgia way, from where I'm at. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, we ain't gonna
The
stay
thing
on.
is, the thing is to me, why Nishi, and you said it. Okay, why does it matter? It matters because to you, even if you got one drop of African in you, we need to claim we African. And we need to stop claiming that we ain't African. You know what I mean? Like, hold on, like I'm just saying though, that shit is crazy
How can you say
because
one drop?
hold on, Dosing it. It's crazy because it's like that's getting forced upon us. Like, boy, you know you got African in you. Okay, yeah, we do. And yeah, we might do. And okay, some people don't. Oh no, hell no. It ain't no way you ain't got it. Oh, okay. No, that's not true because you got some African Americans without Indian ancestry.
Mm-hmm.
but we gotta respect that for what it is. That's all I'm saying, man. I don't hate no Pan Africans. I don't hate nobody. I don't hate nobody at all. And I told somebody, I ain't gonna say who I told, but I told somebody, if we all was to come together, if it was a way that we all could come together, reparations, y'all would have been y'all had y'all reparations. But it's that they keeping us divided because
Where
of
I
simple shit
was,
like this. It's simple
I
stuff like
never
this
said
that's
anything
keeping.
about you when you was in the hospital, except that you was in the hospital. We need to pray for you. No, no, and that's what law here.
Wait. It's unmuted, Sister Freedom. Mute back up. Okay. Sorry about that open knowledge. You can continue.
No, so I was telling somebody like, yo, if it was a way that we all can find a way to come together and realize that, yo, we got in the mix together. Some of us got this ancestry, some of us don't. Point blank. But so be it. But
What
I'm
if we
telling
did
you straight up,
come all as what? One
reparations would have
identification?
been given out to y'all because they would have seen the mass movement.
Okay, yeah. And that's what I want to have a question of. What if they say we all have to come from one identification? And let's say it's different. Like, let's say it's Creole.
Shit,
So
it
we
ain't
all
no
have to
different
say we're
than what's
Creole. Would you
already
do that
been
for
done.
reparations?
It ain't no different than what's already been done. We always classified as either black or Negro. And what?
So, but isn't all of them classifications? So shouldn't we just be going through them all like it's a Rolodex at this point until we get the right one?
I'm saying if they came with what I think it should be an umbrella company, they can have a top name at the top, but it should include, you know what I mean, all the above. You know what I mean? Like branches. You know what I mean? But when it's time to come to a head, you know what I mean, then we going in as this. You know what I mean? Which is American. Point blank. That's what we all go underneath. We will all go up underneath American. I don't care if you got African American descent and African descent in you, blood in you. You still an American if you're born here the way the name is now. So that will be the umbrella. I don't care if you more, you know what I mean, you like us, American Indian, you Hebrew or whatever like that, Pan African. If we go up underneath this one term American,
But we
reparations would have
understand
probably
we're
been given
American, but
out.
how can American get reparations? Everyone's American here. There
Oh, you
has to be
got
an
to go.
identification that says
Well,
reparations.
that's something that every people who's underneath that umbrella will have to figure out. Like we know who came around here, so wherever you from, you got to know who came there and what they did. That's who owe you reparations or whatever. Who brought you across here, if that's how you came, or
And that's
who
where
took you
if
from your native
the
lands and
US
took you somewhere else.
government owes us reparations, we don't have to know the exact name of the explorer or any of that other bullshit.
But see,
All we need is
when you
that the
say
government
U.S.,
owes us
baby,
reparations, period. And if you don't
yeah,
want to
but
be
when
part of the 41.6 million people, that's fine. But they owe 41.6 million people, according to the census,
who is
reparations.
who is
And
the
run me my
U.S.
The
money.
U.S. government, the
Who
U.S.
is the
government.
U.S. government that you're talking about? Please
The
elaborate.
same people that gave the Japanese their money, the same people that gave the
Facts,
Holocaust
Nisha.
victim, the Holocaust people their money, the same people. It ain't no different.
Y'all trying to get a hit put out on y'all.
It's the same people. It ain't no different. They know who they are. We know who we are. They need to quit playing and run me their money.
Jay-Z says they're going to have to kill me because I'm not their slave.
It's crazy, man. It ain't hard to figure nothing out. They know how to tell who is who and what is what. It's not a secret. They figured out how to give everybody some money for COVID. They figured that shit out.
Facts. They'll figure out whatever else they want to figure out. And
Exactly.
they'll pay They'll pay the government to say they're going to figure it out, because the HR bill that they came together for 2021 to discuss reparations, they gave each other $12 million. And it
Right.
just ended the discussions. So everyone getting paid but us.
Right. Everybody done got paid but us. And we sitting around looking like Lucy Letters and shit, trying to figure out who we is and who y'all is, and is we gonna come together and everybody should be Mars. Because we gonna get it if we say we Mars. And the ABOs, I don't want that damn money. But you will take it if a check comes. You will take
No,
that money.
no. The Abos want that money. The Abos ain't the ones saying they don't want that money. They
Okay,
want
so
it.
who the one saying they don't want it?
We want the land.
We wanted
We want our land
No,
back.
you can't pick and choose. You messing us up, so we got to stay together.
See, but that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. It's gonna always be a problem then, because we all ain't gonna fight for the same
So
thing.
just shut up if y'all don't
Shit.
want nothing. Then y'all don't get
Shit,
nothing.
that's what we've
Don't
been
say
doing.
nothing.
Whoa. For one, we've been staying out of y'all reparation shit.
No, not everybody.
Yeah, y'all been hindering y'all goddamn self. Because every
That's a
time one of
lie.
y'all Pan-Africans fall, y'all don't never stand up for each other. That's why. Y'all always have a setback or something. That's
Nah,
y'all
we
fault.
always
That
got
ain't got
an
nothing.
Indian.
That
We
ain't got
always got
nothing
a
to do.
native coming in saying that, we don't need that. So when it's division, they gonna see that. Nah, they
What
ain't ready.
native? What native you talking about? And what
I don't
state you
damn
talking
know.
about?
Even
Well,
when
don't say
even
that, then.
Niggas
Well, don't
talking
say
about
that,
the
then.
hold on,
Illuminati.
All
even
that
when
fucking researching and sourcing up and reading other people's shit you be doing. You mean to tell me you ain't got your own damn source? What you talking about?
hold on.
Show me this person. Show me this native, and make sure it's a indigenous native now, not these new natives.
How can we really
Make
know?
sure now. Make sure.
How can
Make
we
sure
really
now.
know?
So don't classify us all together then. Nisha, exactly.
I'm talking about the people that don't want. They are black, or classify however they gonna classify, and say that they don't want reparations. So they going against it. And then you got black people too that's saying that we need a program. We got to get spoon fed our money when nobody else got spoon fed their money.
Drop the link for
That's
Juju.
Nisha. Can someone pass the collection plate at this point?
There you a bomb,
Go
Nisha.
again.
We don't need no damn program or nothing. You can't tell me how to spend this money. The Japanese ain't got no lecture on how they gonna spend that $20,000 that they gave them per person.
They
So
bought a new deal shop.
right, they ain't told the Germans how they was gonna they was gonna spend their little Holocaust reparations. They ain't had no conversation, but we got to say something. Oh, well, we'll just F it up. We'll just go buy some rims, gold teeth. We'll just do all this. So freaking
I
what?
want land. I want land. Like I can't buy land. Like I can't use money to help cultivate the land. I want land, so that means I don't need money. That makes no sense.
Right.
You can't use the letter F with land. You can't use the letter F with land.
It's crazy, man. Don't dictate how we gonna spend the money. If we see what it is they scared, because once they give it to us, then who gonna work for them again? Who gonna be there punching them clocks? Man, we chilling.
On the set.
We need a soundboard because that deserved the bomb for sure.
Hold on, let me find.
Who's gonna be their modern day slaves?
Right. Because now everybody got money. We don't need them, and that's what they scared of.
Like down that.
We get these niggas this money, and Lord.
Right, because even so, how they act like none of us would do that. None of us would spend it correctly. None of us would have businesses. Then why are you so scared to give it to us? You know that not all of us would be in the Nike store. Not all of us would be giving it back to you. Because if you knew for a fact all of us would hand it right back, you would have given it to us yesterday.
Right.
Come on.
Right.
They knew we would have bought a car. They knew we was gonna get some teethuses. They knew
Right. Cause that's how they look at us. They look at us like that. Man,
we was
please.
going to get some white t-shirts and shit. They knew we was gonna do it.
But Marcus, I'm on my phone, so hold on. Let me pull it up now. How far?
You only got to read the first paragraph.
Sherman Hotel, brother Marcus.
Peace, peace. Peace to the panel. I'm
Yeah,
on my
peace, brother Marcus. Peace,
yeah,
brother.
I'm on my phone too, so I wasn't going to really hop on.
Mute. Yeah. Okay.
Is it an echo?
No, go ahead. He muted up.
Yeah, but I heard a lot of anti-African conversation going on. And so I decided to use my phone to come on and just pull one source. So Nisha and Dots asked Top Cat a very specific question. Where did those people from Switzerland, those dark-skinned people from Switzerland came from? So I took the time out to show you where they came from. And the word that he was trying to avoid was they were Africans. Now, last time Top Cat was on here, I explained that there was a trade going on for over 150 years before 1492, which took a lot of Africans from West Africa up into Europe. Some of those traders were Jewish, and some of those Jewish had children, mulattoes that they call them then, and some of them still had full West Africans as slaves. And so when the Switzerland, the Portuguese, and Spain start to come over here, you'll notice that they mention a lot of African people, but this mentioning of African people or these dark skinned people that are coming out of Europe don't mean that their origins wasn't in West Africa. That's utter nonsense. So as soon as Dulcinea reads the first chapter, that source I put in there, it's going to tell you about the Jews. And if you want to read the rest of it, it's going to get into details about some of the participation the Jews had with the slave trade and how these Africans are coming out of Portuguese and Spain and Switzerland into the Americas so we can cut the nonsense out. And the point is that Top Cat probably read this source and deliberately excluded the fact that these people were still of African descent. That's all I want to say. I ain't even gonna go through all that because I don't really like being on this thing on my cell phone.
Pull up that
I
video of
appreciate you to
her.
let me up on the
Nah.
panel.
Oh, she'll be back in a minute. We need her to pull up that
Right.
video of
He went all the
her.
way around the corner instead of just saying that they are African descent. No,
Absolutely,
I don't remember the
absolutely.
answer.
Huh?
I don't remember the answer. I know he
Well,
answered a lot, but I don't
he
remember the
he
answer.
he said they were Black Europeans.
basically,
You know,
yeah.
yeah, he was
Okay.
saying that they were the people were coming from Switzerland, and a lot of these people that were on the boats, they're really Europeans. They wasn't Africans. They just happened to be black.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And so that's his argument. But the point of the matter is, whether we like it or not, them Europeans, because the slave trade was a business, they kept records. And those records make it clear about who they are, where they coming from, and why they doing it. So we don't have to make it up. See, there's nothing that we don't need to make it up. As if our history is somehow or another some type of negative aspect to humanity. Like
Right.
it's like shameful to be saying that yes,
Yes.
my ancestor was enslaved by these Europeans and they brought us over here, as if
Right.
that's something to be ashamed of. You see, we got a rich history. These people not only were they highly intelligent, but they fought for their freedom from the very beginning. And we can't make that minimize that with this foolishness they talking about now. It's utter foolishness.
Utter foolishness.
Disres- disrespect our ancestors in such a way to say that these people who helped write the Constitution, push for laws to be established, was a fundamental part of the American society, helped establish America, fought in every war in America, contribute to the foundation and the benefits that we see today, advance America in technology and skillful labor. And we want to minimize that by saying these people ain't come from West Africa. It's utter nonsense. It's disrespect. It's disrespectful. That's what it is. Too much blood was shed to get us where we at today. I
Hmm.
find it to be utterly disrespectful.
Right.
And so, I try not to come on here too often because I get angry or I get upset and frustrated about the overall context of what Top Cat and them ABOs be saying. And I'm utterly against that. I'm utterly against the Moors too. They next on the list. We gotta start being honest about
I'm
what's going
telling.
on in these situations. See what I'm saying? So I'm not for that nonsense. It's utter foolishness to sit here and deliberately exclude the fact that those people in Africa, I mean in Europe, who were black, were from West Africa because you don't want to accept the fact that you got West African in you. It's utterly ridiculous. So I
Right.
don't know where Dulcinea at. She's supposed to be getting a source so she can read it, but I guess I can try to do it. I really don't.
Right, because they're from Mesopotamia. But yeah, my thing is if all of it is Africa and it's all brown, so it's one way or another, you still have to, because they're on the other side of the Red Sea and they're in the west. Then you got the heart of Africa, north and south is in the middle, going north and south, and then you have the Asia on the other side, which is on the east, and then you have the Europeans that's going further south, but that's going toward South Africa on the other part of the continent. So that was traveling toward the America, though, right?
So what happened was um, there was interactions, but those interactions was sparse. And as we well know today, people forget. And so as generations pass, a lot of information is rehashed and lost and reformed. So what ends up happening is everybody starts with Henry the Navigator, which is fine. Um, but basically, what happened was you got multiple groups of people who have a complexion but are all different ethnic groups. And those ethnic groups didn't always get along. So you had
Exactly.
Europeans who were fighting each other. You had Asians who were fighting each other. You had people in the Middle East fighting each other. You got people in West Africa fighting each other, East Africa fighting each other. And as these fighting groups and these interactions take place, people at times were taken captive, enslaved, brutally murdered. It happened across the globe. You had Native Americans who was at war with different tribes and ethnic groups within the Native American people. So when Henry the Navigator is in his expansion period, he takes Canary Islands, then he goes off further islands off the west coast of Africa, creates a Creole people that then have both Portuguese ancestry, Jewish ancestry, and West African ancestry that know both languages that are able to do commerce. And these people begin the slave trade, moving Africans up, some voluntarily, some by force, up into Europe. They have a lot of interactions. You have children being born through this. It wasn't the same way that we see chattel slavery now, which is why you look at certain genetic profiles in Western Europe, and you'll find a lot of West African DNA in a lot of these Europeans. This is where a lot of that came from, outside excluding the Roman period. But nevertheless, the point is that these interactions is what's going to lead to the founding of America, right? The founding of Spanish Southern America, which is Florida, parts of Georgia, and parts of I guess that's Alabama. You find the French coming in, taking on parts of Mississippi, parts of Louisiana, up into the Midwest as well. You got these Dutch in the Northeast quarter and New England and New Amsterdam and all that area. And you got the British in the Mid Atlantic and parts of the southern states. And all these warring European nations were fighting each other both in America and in Europe. And they were using the capital from the slave trade to fund their expansion. That's what happened. So they needed money, they needed resources. to keep the other Europeans off their behind, and they used Africans, West Africans, as not only part of their armed forces, but also a part of their economic system to sustain their colonization projects. That's the basics of what happened. So I'm going to read. Can I read this source? I don't know how to post the source so everybody can see it. Maybe one of you ladies who have a computer can post it in the chat so everybody can see it, and then they can
Yeah,
and then they
only
can.
Freedom and Dawsonair can do it, and both of them out right now. It look like.
No, I'm not. I'm right here.
Oh,
And
okay.
Dustin
Thank
can
you.
come right back on.
Okay, so I'm just going to read the first paragraph, and then I'm
You
gonna
can,
go ahead and
if
head
you
on to.
want me to put it up on the screen, I will, Marcus.
Okay, yes. Can you do that for me, please?
You gotta send it down here for me to do it.
Yeah, it's in the back chat.
Oh, wait a minute. I can't get to it. Wait a minute.
Again, that was just a general overview. I mean, it's a lot more details. You can look
But
up the
no, it's
War
gotta
of a
come
Hundred
down here
Years.
in order for me to do that. I can't do it from up here. From in the
Where do
back
you
chat.
want me to put it at?
You gotta just send it so I can put it on the screen. If you
Okay.
can't, you can just read it if you can't.
Okay. Hold on. Let's see. Okay. Did you see that one right there?
Where?
And it say it's going into the studio. I don't know what chat that is. Chat with everyone in the studio. No.
I don't see anything.
Okay. I'll just read it then, and
Hmm.
uh, hopefully we'll get it out to everybody. Usually, what I do is I'll just put it after the show. I'll put it in the regular chat, and everybody can come back and see it. So let me read this right quick. This is from
Oh, Nisha put it up there. There it is. Marcus. Marcus.
yes.
Marcus.
Oh, yes, yes. Can you hear me?
There it is.
I don't know. I
Okay,
think bigger.
Is that it,
okay.
Marcus?
Yep, that's it right there. So I'm gonna read it, and then everybody can see it in the on the screen while I read it. Right. So the 17th century Portuguese Jewish community in Amsterdam was comprised of members coming from Spain, Portugal, Italy, Turkey, Greece, France, Belgium, Morocco, and West Africa. Jose del Salva Horta and Peter Mark found records of Sephardic communities along the west coast of Africa. The archival records reveal the reality of the slave trade. Portuguese conversos, which are Jewish converts to Catholicism, had been slave traded since the 16th century between Lesbos, Seville, the Atlantic islands, and West Africa. They even managed to control the acentos, contracts permitting the sale of slaves in Spanish colonies between 1580 and 1640. The most prominent slave traders were from the families Rodriguez, Jimenez, Navarro, Mendez, Palos, Diaz, Calorero, Jorge, Fernandez, Elvias, and Clarita. The members of these families established an international network based on national religious ties and kinship. So basically, what that means is that when Top Cat was saying that they came from Switzerland and all like that, man, they were African slaves in Switzerland held by the Jews. And when the Jews came over to America to establish trade, they brought them colored folks with them. That's what happened. With all that stuff Top Cat was trying to avoid saying and all like that is a bunch of foolishness. It's a bunch of foolishness. It is what it is. So the Nation of Islam had the book of the history of the slave trade. I mean, the Jews, the secret relationship between Jews and black, volume one and volume two. It also quotes that, but I determined to get a source from a journal so everybody can see it. And if you want to continue reading about it, you can do that, or you can get the book, uh, The Portuguese in West Africa from 1415 to 1670, a documentary history by Malin Newitt. or you can get the Creole colonies creations, uh, Europe and West Africa, which is like 1490 to like 1667. Those two books describe the exact same thing, and I can post a link if anybody wants to look at it or read the PDF. So, ladies, I appreciate y'all allowing me on the panel. You know, I just hope that the history is told as accurately as possible, and that we can be honest with the fact that we were from West Africa. They had these experiences, and today we make up a population that we call African American, who still have struggles, who still is in a fight to get what is owed to us, which is reparations, as well as clarifying and understanding our uh, our identity and the beauty of our ability to survive the Mayafra. So I appreciate you ladies letting me on the panel. I'm gonna go ahead and get back in the chat, okay?
Peace. Thank you for coming up.
Peace, Marcus.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having. Thank you for coming,
No
sharing.
problem. Peace.
Peace.
Yeah. Yeah, that sound about right.
Yeah, I think when it comes to that and everything, that's why there's like so many questions of it all. But I do understand saying that that's part of the history, but may not be all of the history. I'm not opposed to saying that okay, there could have been some African people or black people or however we want to identify them, Negro for this, some Negro people on the royalty side of things and that were influencing, going into West Africa, taking the slaves, doing the transportation. Like we even know Moors were on the ships with Columbus. So that was happening where Negro people were on the other side with the colonizers. But I just don't think that's the full story to say that, oh, it's the colonizers, or even if you find that some of the people that you're related to are colonizers, I don't think that's your full story either. But that's just how I feel about it. And that, like he said, like our ending result is here. So even if you had colonizers at your family, where are you today?
Right, because we all need a little dirt to grow. I mean, honestly. I didn't come from dirt. I came from water. But I mean, for those who believe we came from dirt, I mean, we need dirt to grow. But I came from water.
Open to knowledge. Did you have anything to respond, or what do you think about anything?
Nah, sound like you got a personal issue with Top Cat.
Why
Yeah,
is it that? Why is it if we're
man.
talking about
And with
reparations?
and with the
Wait, hold up, hold up.
and with the
Why is
morals
it if we're
and with the
talking about
morals.
reparations that it becomes some kind of
And he
personal?
wasn't talking about no damn reparations. He was talking about some anti-African slurs he heard or some shit.
Well, okay, yes, he was bringing up some of the history of what it says about Amsterdam, but do you believe that all of that's incorrect? That none of that, like I guess, none of the admixture that end up having black people in those said European countries, like that was from the result of slavery amongst the Portuguese? Or are you saying no?
Most of that admixture is because of the Portuguese or the Spanish or the European period. But anyway, no. But
The
I'm a research
Portuguese being that the
some of the stuff
Portuguese were black or were
uh
Negroid?
what well they say they had some kind of color to them. They didn't look like normal people in that area that originally came from the Iberian Peninsula. So I
Do
don't know how
Hispanic
they take
people
that.
have
I don't
color
know
to
how they
them?
take that.
Would you
Y'all
guys?
can go with that classification shit. I don't care about that. But yeah, if
Yeah,
huh?
no problem. I guess the only thing that just throws me off all the way when it comes to this is just where did all these white people come from? Like not even white people, but where did the Hispanics come from? If they were all Negroid, like there's so many different people now, yet they were all Negroid before. That just I can't wrap my brain around
It
that.
might not be that many different people. It just might
No,
be
they
that we
can't.
But
got
Then
no,
so
they
no,
have
many
a.
wait,
different
there's
They don't
only
have
so
a
races.
many different
Hold on,
people.
hold on. I
Caucasoid
was saying,
island or something.
I was just saying that it is not that it might be so many different people. It's that it's so many different races now. Like we got a bunch of races now. It's a bunch of not racist people now, like races. You know what I mean? Groups. It's crazy.
I don't know if I can agree with that because I see different people. The Native Americans are not the same people as even the South Americans. And even if we go through South American, I'm
Well,
very
damn,
into soccer.
ain't y'all
And
say they
I
all
can
came
see
from
someone
Africa?
in Argentina. No, we don't. They people say that they all originated in Africa for science or anything, but we're not talking about the out of Africa theory right now. We're talking about that there's a
Oh,
multitudes of peoples, and when
mm,
we simplify these wars to say this war, the Punic War, was Negro against Negro, the Petty War was Negro against Negro. My question then lies is now that there's so many different people, where did those different people come from? We're the ones that think those different people are those people. We think there were Greeks that could have been black, but majority of Greeks were white. We see the archaeology. So when you're saying no, they're not, they're black. Okay, so where did these white people now come from?
Okay, can I ask a question and maybe use a reference, maybe?
Yeah.
Because I don't have a map. Um, I'm thinking, but okay, so let's use I'm gonna use your state because you know your state, Dawsonair. All right. Texas is a really big state. All right. So if Texas, let's say Texas is Africa. So you have Dallas, right? And you have Toronto, I think.
San
Oh,
Antonio,
San Antonio.
Houston.
Okay,
Yeah.
so just because all of these different cities are in the state of Texas, right? They all don't talk alike, right?
That's true. No, they don't all
Okay,
talk alike.
and so and pretty sure. So we just saying just because they all in Texas, they all don't talk alike. So pretty much the temperature is different in all these different states sometimes, right?
Yeah, like cities,
So
like yeah. Mm-hmm.
okay, so with that being said, if that was a color, right, then you could say that these are different tribes, right? So there's a odd chance maybe that these different tribes, because these people are San Antonio's, right, and these are this people, and these are this people, and these are this people. They all could have a different shade just
That's
because they
correct.
live
Or
in
just like
Texas.
for an example, what you see at San Antonio, it's majorly Hispanic in San Antonio,
Okay,
almost all.
exactly,
And that's where he was talking about the Sam Houston and the remember the
exactly,
Alamo, where we learned it that Sam Houston went against they went against the Mexicans. They went
and
against the Hispanics to take over Mexico. And you see a remnant of people that look very Mexican
okay.
here.
So just because we saying Texas, right? We don't expect everybody to be Mexican, or
Right,
we don't expect everybody to be one color just because it's Texas.
right, exactly.
Texas people can have different shades of colors, but they're all Texans, right? So just because you're in Africa, Africa has a because as a Kimite, we pray to the north, south, east, and west. Right now, we know that there's Asians on the east, right, the Indian people on the west, and upper and lower, north and south. But now, when we started, or I'm gonna say, I started thinking, but we looking in history books and whatnot, and they saying the four civilizations, right? So then, remember we was talking about the four kings and the four areas that covers those four civilizations. So you're right. And so that's still the four areas, the four seasons, right? So these four kings, even though they were brown or what, they were still 4 different shades. So that still takes us back to Herodotus, and he was still a high Croesus, right? And he still noticed that although they were all in Africa, they all had 4 different shades. I showed you a picture of me and my brothers, and it was 4 of us, but it's actually 5 of us, but we all different shades.
But
You
weren't
see
the
what I'm
high,
saying?
what you said, like the high or
The
Hyksos or
high Croesus
Hyksos?
was Hebrew.
Yeah, but it wasn't he a different people? Like when we look at their
But he
archaeology,
was
not only
still
are they,
from, right? He was
yeah,
still
exactly,
from
but he was a
Africa.
different nation. Yeah, nation of
It
people.
doesn't matter about the nation. He was still from Africa, though.
Right.
Get it? So it didn't matter. He was still from Africa. Whether he was from the west of Africa, or I'm not west, but he was from the more
Yeah,
southern
but I
part.
don't think anyone's arguing that. What people are saying is when you're looking at these wars, you have to see that it's the same. Like for instance, Sister Freedom was bringing up someone in her family or lineage that was a colonizer and was white, as depicted in pictures. And they're saying, no, that person's not white. They're Negro. And if you really go and look into it, it's Negro. What I'm saying is when we're looking now at all these wars, the Punic Wars, even the Alamo War, and if you say that, oh, it was Negroid people on both sides fighting each other and that's it, then you have to explain how they developed into Hispanics today, because what we know that as is a classification of Hispanics fighting for the Alamo because they were in Mexico. It was literally Mexico. And I don't, unless I have some kind of Spanish Mexican line, I'm not necessarily going to say all the Mexicans were Negroid or we
True,
come
but
from
have
Negro.
we also noticed the development in our maps and everything? What today is not today's map was yesterday's map. We got to incorporate a whole lot of those changes that has happened as well.
I get that, but I don't think people are that. I think we want to believe that people
All
was
the people that
always
move in and out of
this
that, we
one
talking about
group, and I
race
think
and
even
stuff that can
tribes
happen.
show that
The,
we're different people. We've always considered ourselves to be like different people from different nations. And like you said, a lot of different nations could live in the same area, but they would even consider themselves as different. And even to go a step further, when people will say, well, they were all African, I don't even believe that, because we see a lot of Asiatic movement into Africa, just like we see a lot of African movement out to Asia, because there's just this exploration that people always say, oh, it had to be a catastrophe. I don't believe that it had to
for
be a
the
catastrophe.
Syrians,
Asia is right there. There's no reason why only us want to see Asia, and our ancestors never said, oh, I want to see what Asia looks like. Like
but
we are
wasn't
such
the
a backward
Syrians one
people.
time Asians? Wasn't the Asians at one time Assyrians though?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It didn't the Assyrians live in Africa?
Exactly. So it didn't take nothing from them because that part was no longer a part of Africa due to time and change. It became Asia. So you see what I'm saying? I'm not
Right.
trying to change your train of thought. I'm just trying to move with the map and
Oh
the
yeah,
way
I
it
definitely
moves.
get what you're saying. But what I guess what I'm saying as well is, so now there's people, they're Asiatic people. They come in Africa, and I guess they've lived in Africa so long, they've assimilated, and they become African as well. And now we have a classification for them as African Asiatic
But
because
no,
they're
they're not no longer Africans. They're now just like the Islam's right where Islam is. That was once Africa, but it's not no longer. It's now known as Islam. So we don't call that Africa either. It's known as Islam. So Islam is respected as Islam. It's not Africa. It's respected for what it is.
But
So we
where
can't
is it? I'm
It's
confused.
called Islam. Islam, Israel. That was once a part of Africa. It's no longer that part. So now
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. What was saying?
Islam
What's being
and
said about
Israel was a part of Africa. It is no longer.
Islam? Is just a part of a
Okay, but
religion.
at one point
A
it
belief.
was.
Well,
So
wait a minute. What do you mean? One point it was what?
at one point, Islam and Israel was a part of Africa. and it's no longer a part of that.
No, there's no such thing as Islam is just a religion that is in Africa. You mean
Okay, well,
Mecca?
Israel.
I think she was meaning the
Then I'm
religion was
talking.
a
I
part of
must be saying
Africa as well
Israel
as
was a
Israel.
part of Africa.
You talking about the religion?
No, I'm talking about the Israel, the county, the state, the
Oh yeah, you
place,
talking about Israel?
Israel.
Okay, but I'm talking
Right.
about
Oh, and
Islam.
maybe
There's no place
then.
called Islam.
Oh, I
There's
think
no
Okay.
maybe
place
you're
called
saying
Islam.
Arabia, like Saudi
No,
Arabia.
Mecca and all that. She's talking about Mecca.
Yeah, but was Mecca's where is Mecca?
Um, um. Oh my
All of
goodness,
that.
get my tongue.
It wasn't.
It's
I
over
wouldn't
in
say
Africa.
that all
But
of
you know,
that
we're
was
gonna change
Africa.
the names
I don't
now.
because it was,
Let me pull it.
we connected by the Gaza Strip. So I don't
All of
want to.
that's over there. All of that's over there in the same part. All of it. All of it's
I
connected.
understand, but it's still different people there. So how could
They
see
come
how
to
messy it
be.
get? You see
That's
how
what I'm
Exactly.
saying.
Moses couldn't have not
Because
traveled
I
through
don't want to
Egypt.
be like the
No, nobody
Palestinians
else could have
aren't
not traveled through
indigenous
Egypt,
to
so
that
it's
area
over
to
there.
be like, I'm really the original Palestinian. I don't agree with being that.
Saudi
Exactly.
Arabia. Saudi Arabia is where Mecca is.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was saying. Saudi Arabia. I think that's what you meant by Islam. Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. So that's all I'm saying. So I'm not trying to break your train of thought. I'm just trying to develop it with the maps and all of this other stuff so that we can stay. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
the people are still there, but I don't want nobody to just think you have to stay with the word Africa to be in that area. Because America says America, but we have all these 52 states. Well, not really 52, because
And
you know you
and
got these
and
little,
that's all I
but
mean about it, because when you're going into the Egypt, I believe that's how you have to look at the Mayans. That's how you have to look at the
exactly.
aspects. There's a different of people that came and they all amalgamated together and were South America. It's always a melting pot. It's always a
Yes.
melting pot. And
Yes.
that's where I understand the research for tribal lineage. Because yes, your tribal lineage is your real, that's your bloodline. That is
Yes.
like who you guys have been, as far as what they've changed our last name and everything like that to be. So of course you definitely want to know your ancestors and your bloodlines and different things like that. But I think a lot of times with the amalgamation, we try to make ourselves other people's bloodlines. We try to say, oh, these people didn't exist. They came in from Euro Asia as a conspiracy in 1800s, and I just they have a lot of knowledge of spirituality. They have a lot of knowledge passed down oral history, and I'm a real respecter of your oral history more than anything. And when they know their oral history, I'm not willing to say, "Oh, that person is a fake Native American. That's a $5 Indian." No, they're not. They
Yeah.
know their ancestry.
They
It
know
was
too much.
passed down
Come on.
orally. They know where they came from. So they're not all colonizers either. I think we do ourselves a disservice of just doing that. Like even the Irish and stuff like that. Like the Irish aren't colonizers in history. They're just not.
They were
They're
slaves.
the indentured, exactly. They're the indentured
They
servants.
were slaves, and we were the luck of the Irish because once we came, they were no longer slaves. Let's tell that truth.
Facts. Exactly. That's where that comes from. Exactly. So when I think we just um mix everything up, and it gets confusing. It's like, where do we even know where to start and begin? But a lot of that then makes me just want to throw it all away and say, let's start now. And
Right.
then when we say let's start now, obviously reparations gonna come up, and then that's when it all goes crazy.
Come on. Come on.
It's only getting crazy because they don't want to give us their money anyway. They know how to separate and divide. They done did it for everybody else.
Now you keep hitting them with this history that they thought they threw away, and that's what's gonna happen. See, this is that unscrambled mind. You see, because this is that history that we only don't talk about. You see, and then we tapping it back, but we not hitting it with a vengeance. We hitting it though. So now you got to scratch enough heads. You
But yeah,
see,
I agree, and that's where I'm like, we got to get these children as well. We have to let them know, of their history of just
come
being
on,
like what they can achieve here. Because obviously, we know, like when it comes to the American, we know we're American. We know the benefits of being American, and we're not. A lot of us aren't trying to leave or anything, and we're not going to leave. Or if we're gonna leave, we're gonna be back and forth like other Americans because we've worked hard enough, we've saved the money, and we do that so we can travel as we want, we can be the people who we want to be because we're American. But also part of that American is we've had a sad history that's passed down to us of slavery, and where we're continuing to be enslaved mentally and sometimes even physically, through the workforce of how you just have this glass ceiling for yourself and they never want you to go up for far enough, or even how they use the prisoners when they're black and use them for basically slavery and saying, hey, you messed up in life, so now you're our workhorse or anything. Like those sort of things we can fight. Those sort of things we don't have to just be accepting of.
come on. Yes, we're not gonna stay in our place, but we just want to ask the questions that that's gonna enlighten us, that's gonna educate us, but at the same time, we want to ask the questions that maybe somebody want to know if we already know, and somebody don't know. While we got the teachers and the lecturers here, let's ask the ones that somebody may want to know. Just because somebody else may not want to know and don't want to ask the question, let's ask those questions too, so that somebody else who don't know can make sure they do know. Because we got these lectures and scholars here, let's get these questions asked for those who don't know. Let's keep everybody, that's how they're going to get informed, that's how they're going to know. Because some people don't want to ask, some people don't know, and they may not never ask, because the dumbest question is not to ask one at all. But we at that point too that sometimes we get scared. We get camera shy, we get tongue tied. Some people want to call you crazy, stupid, dumb. Don't even worry about somebody else. Worry about yourself. And let's get out here and just open. It's called a
Let me share
conscious
my screen.
community, and just come on and join in. Because it only take one of us. If we get one of us out here and we all get in here and just one at a time, it don't matter. Paul Revere was all by himself when he said the British was coming.
Yeah.
And he woke up the whole time, and
Sister
now
Prism, are you
everybody
going?
was ready. So this is all we need. Come on, we got to educate our kids and build the community back and get us back so we can get the reparations, because we need enough of us.
That's in
Enough of us.
alignment.
Come on, enough of us.
Yes, I really wanted to show this, and I feel like this is right on time. This was about Opal Lee, remember, and she is the grandmother of the Juneteenth now being a federalized holiday, but our federal holiday. But this is a quote that she said: "It took abolitionists, Quakers, all kinds of folks to help and lobby to get the slaves freed. I truly believe that we can do so much more together rather than apart."
Come
And
on.
that's one of her quotes. And I think it's a perfect quote for right now, honestly, because we just need to come together at the end of the day. And that's the ending message, that no matter finding your tribe, we definitely want you to find your tribe. But at the end of finding your tribe, we need to come together because there's so much more that we can all achieve once we're on one accord. And a
Come on.
lot of it, a lot of the games they play and they get to play is because we're not as one accord, because the real resource is us. It's not money, it's not gold, it's not even the land. The land means nothing without people, without human beings. They need us, and we don't even understand that enough to be like, hey, if we come together, then that's over for them. But they understand that. That's why they keep us apart as much as they can. So they relish in as many people saying, "Oh, you want to be separate, they'll give you a 501c3. They'll be like, hey, we'll get the government will give you money. You want to keep these black people apart from each other? Hell yeah. We'll fund that. So we have to see the power is us coming together. And I don't understand anyone that doesn't see that, honestly.
It's gonna be hard though. I mean, it has been hard. I mean, it's just trying to get everybody on one accord. That really seems impossible because everybody is not all for it.
But
You
yeah,
got
and then it seems like whenever there's someone on that page, they take him out. Like Martin Luther King, they made sure right as when he was about to tackle reparations, that's when they took him out.
right when
So,
he was really opening his eyes is when they took him out.
yes.
Mm.
So it's a hard feat because it is they are definitely on us to not come together as any way possible.
Yeah.
So it seems impossible, but we have to see that that's how it was for our ancestors in slavery. That's how it was when they're getting hung on posts. And I know a lot of people like to say that the slave whips were only the kind of ones that had leathers or the strips. But they use bull whips on slaves. They use snake whips on slaves. They use horse whips on slaves. So all those pictures are real. Their backs are real. Whips do that to backs. Like all that is stuff that our ancestors really went through. All of it.
It is unbelievable. But I
Okay.
still say, with all that we went through, the black devil is the worst devil because we treat each other like trash. We do the most horrible things mentally and physically to each other.
I can't
Because
say that.
I'm saying it. I'm not.
Well,
I'm not
I
asking
get
nobody.
it.
I'm
That's
telling
how
you
it.
how
I get it. That's how
I
it
mean,
feels.
to me, that we are our own worst enemy. We cause problems for ourselves. I mean, we do dirt to each other for no apparent reason. We don't even think how we hurt other people by the things that we do, just for spiteful or ignorance. We just do it. We don't even care how we affect people, their parents. We just do it for the stupidest things that don't even make sense. So we know they are enemy, our open enemy that we can see. But the worst part is when it looks just like you. To me, that is the worst part, when it looks just like you. And you would expect more from your own. Just liars and just the thieving of hearts and minds. I mean, they beat us with whips, but we beat each other down mentally and just dirty, rotten.
But
Like,
then I get what you're saying, but again, when you look into the psychology of all of this, and like that they've actually done these studies that
but do you think it
with
was
the
different
animals,
then than it is now? Do you think it was different then than it is now? Girl,
the
I
movies of
bet you
it,
any amount of
yes,
money
because
we
what
see
they did
wait a
was
minute, we see
correct.
movies. We see movies, not saying that a movie is real, but we see movies that like stimulates on what we went through back then. Our own people was turning against us. Our own people was like
Yeah, but that
causing
was
us to
even
get
in the
in
movies.
trouble.
That
Like,
was for favor for the actual slave masters. But I really want to talk about real psychology, a real scientific study that is done. You can look it up. And what happened was they brought monkeys together. I think around 500 monkeys in total, or even more. They start off with two monkeys. They start with putting the two monkeys in a cage. They put the bananas on top of the shelf or wherever in the cage, and then they see what those monkeys start to do. Of course, they start to go for the bananas. As soon as they start to go for the bananas, they start to beat the monkeys. They start to water hose the monkeys. They do everything to be like, do not go for those bananas. So then they go and they take out one monkey that knows, and then they put in a couple more monkeys that don't know. So then they go up for it.
So now it's the between the monkeys. They start spraying them all this other stuff, but the original monkey is trying to stop them as well from getting those bananas. Go on, adding monkeys, all this other stuff. By the time you get to, let's say, the seventh generation, you do not have to influence the monkeys anymore. You don't have to spray the water hose anymore. The monkeys beat up the other monkeys from trying to get the bananas. And that's where we are. That's what they've done to us.
Stockholm syndrome.
Yes. Like how they say we're crabs in a bucket. We're just trying to get out of the bucket and pulling each other down.
Down, yeah, that's what we
We're trying
do.
to get
And
out
so
of
we
this
just pull each
bucket.
other down.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. We don't care who it hurts, how it affects another person. They just do it. And it's just weird to me.
I mean,
It'd be
everybody does
lies,
it.
it'd be lies, twisted stories, anything to pull your brother or your sister down, to try to bring yourself up, knowing that you're only making yourself look horrible. And in the end, you lose. You just keep on until you lose, and you lose everything.
Yes.
I think everybody does that though. Every race does that. But see,
I'm not
they
even concerned about other people's races. We're the ones who went through what we went through, and we should know better than to do that.
mm,
And they quick to tell us we should understand.
oh, I don't know. I don't look at it like that.
I know, but I'm just saying the reality of the thing is we should know better. We never think. To me, I be wondering if people got good home training or horrible home training, what they done been through in their lives.
Yeah, not everyone's home training is the same, but we do have to
Right?
realize like we are separate people altogether. And then,
Yes, we are.
there's
But I
the
don't want to make that an excuse
motivations,
for
the
just being a horrible
motivations of
person.
people because we know that there's higher and lower self, and we know there's choices that everybody's making, and sometimes it's for different reasons or anything. Someone will turn on you, say anything. People have just all kinds of
Lies, twisted lies. It's
they have
horrible.
motivations to do so, and it's just whatever
Yeah.
those motivations are, that's what's keeping them going and choosing that.
Very
And
much.
it
They're so
does
insecure
come
within
from,
themselves.
Very
yeah.
much so.
Hmm.
I don't know.
They
I
So
done
just I
lost
don't let none
people.
of that. I could care less, to be honest. I don't give a damn about what somebody say, what they talking about. Oh, cause I look like I don't give a. I don't entertain none of that. So it
I'm
don't
not worried
affect
about
me.
when nobody say about something stupid like that, but other things, I'm saying I'm saying you killing somebody's child. You don't think about how that mom over dumb, stupid stuff. Somebody called you a name or something. You done took a bullet and killed them. I mean, just be stupid stuff.
Do
Yeah.
you
And
believe
now
that?
you in jail young for the rest of your life because you just couldn't beat a fight or something. You and him toe to toe, y'all got into a fight and fought each other. And because you lost the fight, you couldn't take a couple men. People telling you, man, he did get with you, whatever. You gonna get a gun and shoot him and kill him. I mean,
Do
dumb, stupid stuff like that.
do you believe that trauma can be genetically passed down?
I do. And I mean, but what you got to know right from wrong, though. Come on, man.
yeah, but I understand what you say because I mean right now I do think our ancestors have it worse. Don't get me wrong. Slavery was really a horrible thing, and I don't try to compare time frames like that. But when you're talking about that sort of thing, that like is this new lack of morality amongst the youth, and I can shoot someone 500 times because I didn't like them, or a girl beat me in a basketball game, and even though she's a WNBA prospect, she beat a bunch of men, so now I'm a killer type of thing because it was embarrassing. It is just it is raised lack of morals. We're in a totally
Yes.
different to me, that's where it doesn't even get that there's nothing new under the sun, honestly, because there's so much hate now. There's so
So
much
much
hate.
hate.
It feels
People don't like
scary.
their own damn selves and miserable. That old thing my grandmother used to say about misery loves company. I mean, love it.
But
The
that's why
ego.
I mean I do feel like we're in a different time, and I feel upset about it, and I'll have to balance it as my son gets older. But certain things and freedoms I had as even 8 of going to my friend's house by myself, I don't know. I don't know if I would give the same freedoms today of just being like, oh yeah, you can walk home from school. I don't know. That's it's like a different time frame of just what could happen just
Come on.
because someone feels some type of way. My friend was talking about it that because she has a daughter and her daughter's really beautiful. And one time she just went to the park like, yeah, mom, I had my phone with me. I was fine to go to the park. And she's like, hell no. Like you can't do that ever because someone needs to walk with you and know you're safe because what if they just took the phone and smashed the phone? Then that doesn't help us. You're kidnapped and you don't even have the phone. So no, you need to go. And she's like, I don't care if I'm a helicopter mom or just all over my kids like that. I'd rather be all up over my kids like that and then be alive.
It's a shame.
Wow. I mean, that's the truth, though. It honestly is. The
And
guerrilla
then when
fight
you,
for that reason.
and then when you finally get your just due from the dirt that you did, you know that you just, then you'll say, well, I didn't even do nothing. No, you did. You did. Now you're gonna spend the rest of your life in jail, mentally or physically. Because it ain't
Yeah.
gonna change nothing. You still gonna be who you are.
Do you think everybody has a conscience?
I think that they do. I think that if they don't, sometimes you gotta put the fear of God in people. And that's it might sound a little biblically, but I didn't mean for it to sound that way. But sometimes you gotta let people, you gotta put the fear. I'm looking at up the you as being God, and you gotta put the fear of God in people because they so airheaded or something. I don't know what kind of conscience they got.
None, because some of them walk around and say only God can
They're
judge
the
me.
walking dead, as far as I'm concerned.
You see? And so they
Look
say
at
only God.
YouTube and look at some of the stuff that be on here, just dumb, stupid stuff, twisted up lies and all kinds of mess. It's just ridiculous. Like find something else. Of all the stuff in the world we could be talking about. You got a bunch of he say, she say, this one said that stuff, and it's just pathetic. Like get a life. It's like pathetic.
Well, the Bible is called the gospel. So, I mean, what do you think people doing? They're gossiping. I mean, they keeping the word. Can I get amen?
Well,
Amen. It's talking about you. Or, hey, woman, talking about you too.
Facts.
I'm
it'll
just
be
But
saying.
yeah, that's where you gotta know to just let it. Don't even let that stuff get to you, like Nisha was saying, because it's gonna be like that. And
No, I wish I was
unfortunately,
around
it's
some of these people
yeah,
instead of being
it's
on YouTube. It's almost like somebody called you on the phone, said some smart stuff, and hung up, and you can't get to the person.
yeah, but that
It
means you
tells
don't
you
need
that
to get
YouTube
to the
saves a
person.
lot of behind whoopings. I'm telling you.
Yeah, but that means that you don't need that behind whooping anyways. And really it is like a waste of time because
and energy.
honestly, and energy, yeah, because honestly, it is something about you. And it's that you're that girl. And if it's not them, it's gonna be someone else. And it's gonna be someone else after them and someone else after the next person because the real problem is you. It's that you're all that. And they're not.
There you go. See,
That's
they bless
where
and
it
be
lies.
blessed. He was blessed not to, get across them I's and dot them T's. You see what I'm saying? Save yourself a
I
trip to
just say
Right.
jail.
So it's like you
my
can't,
girl,
you're
and
not
I will.
doing anything for them to hate you, but some people will just hate you. You don't have to do nothing. Just breathe. Just
Yes,
exist
and
the
they'll be
way
like,
you
hate
exist.
you. And you be like, bless you.
Right? And
Bless
you
you.
can
They
really
just
be like, bless you, because you thought they
all
wanted
allergic
me.
to you. And they be like, hate you, hate you, I hate you. You be like, bless you, freak. It's sneezing all over. Tell them hide it, don't divide it. They be like, hate you, hate you. I be like, I don't like you either, freak.
No, you be
They be
like, I
all
don't
over you.
even, I don't even know you.
I'm
You
just
don't
Right.
talking
even
about
know
how this world is so cruel out here. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh,
We know. But sometimes, we just gotta listen. You do the best we can
yeah, this world's cruel,
with the
man.
cards we dealt.
I
Like
mean,
like
we
like
do, we
Dawson
do.
said,
Oh God.
get you some
Okay.
Uno. Get you some Uno cards.
Girl, but okay, but it's 1:14 now. So I guess we can go ahead on and cut this
Okay,
short.
well, I got a song that
Oh my Lord. Mhm.
Prince Mighty Hebrew wants y'all to hear from his
Oh
new third album.
Oh wow. Here.
Okay, so I'm finna play it for y'all. Like to hear it? Here
Here
it
we
go. Listen, we can play this music because we do own the rights to it.
Right.
How
He
about
gave us
that?
the permission, so it is.
So we can play this. So let me let y'all hear it. I don't know if y'all can hear this. I hope so. Can y'all hear that?
Yeah.
I and I see the beast coming forth, the Lord sparking in the dark. Showing the arc, sending the arch with degrees from the east. Stands in the be fuck Illuminati. Like Malcolm, hold the shy. Enemy spy, the drop a guy. Turn the city Gotham, music gothic. I was straight like the shotgun. Uptown spit fire vodka. 195 rock bronze. And that's with the war calm. Muslims call the Adon thing. Shema, O Yisrael, we raise out of hell. Great gates, those enslaved, enemy of Kate. Two-faced Jake Snake reside in the brain. Simile and lower hate. The collie you get AIDS with blood stains and pose fam. The lost imprint and schizophrenics. Damn it, I see the puppet master disaster. Can't stop, muscle rock, I'm the master. Leeway got the glow.
For more, you can go to Spotify or Apple. I'll download. I'll put the information in the app. These new preachers. Woo!
I'll
Nobody
pass
cuss
on
you
that
out like a
one.
Christian.
He sounded angry
Nobody
as
cuss
hell
you
to
out
me.
like a Christian. I done been cussed
I
out by
feel like it
people.
gives I
Nobody
can't
cuss
think
you
of
out
what
like a
year,
Christian.
maybe in the 80s, but it gives one of them hip hop year vibes, like real hardcore.
Yeah,
I
he
don't
real
know,
hardcore.
tired of Wu-Tang.
He said something about bust you out your cranium with your new skull. I was like,
I saw you had the perfect facial expression, hype man. He just needs some kind of like sound hype man.
listen, ever since Schoolhouse Rock,
Okay,
I'm
well,
stuck.
everybody, it's time to grade go. Every time it seems like I'll be like, it's time to get to bed. Y'all be on here a whole nother hour.
We're not gonna be on here a whole other hour tonight. We're gonna be talking about the rhymes and
Children, hold
everything.
on to your dreams.
Okay, all right. All
Open
right.
the knowledge. Did you want to say anything to close out?
If you want to say anything before we hang
Love
up,
you
close
like
this out. I'm opening knowledge.
No, I think y'all had some good talking points tonight, man. I didn't want to interrupt y'all, Bill, or nothing like that, or change the energy, but y'all had some good talking points tonight, and um, I enjoyed it as always. You know what I mean? I
Come get
rock with
these
it.
reparations with me. Open to knowledge and give me your check,
Right. Since you don't
I'd
get
like to have it too.
and
Me
I'll
too.
buy you some
Right.
land.
Split it four
You
I
don't
ways.
have
got
to,
you.
you don't have to wait for no reparation.
But damn.
Buckley, baby, what the is going down? We about to split it, checking four ways. We got the
Zakina.
He is
right.
crazy
Break
as
bread like Jesus. Yeah, that's
Go to
country.
bed.
That's that country slang there. Break bread like Jesus.
bust a check. We about to split it four times. What you say? That's a nigga gonna get it when she go home, but she better.
Okay, y'all. Good
I got
night.
you. I'll give a little all to the offering plate. Spread it around.
Thank you for coming, Open. Thank you for sharing with us.
Sister Frida don't know this really the time that we really turn up. She
And
don't
this is
know.
the time that
And
I be
she
going
ready
to
to
sleep
go to
and leaving
sleep.
y'all here to turn all up.
She already know. Go ahead, lay on the floor.
Y'all can go right on ahead because I'm not, hey.
Uh, where Dulcinea tell us about her trip or none of that.
Call your name, my bed is calling.
Oh, you better come on. Your
Call
bed is calling.
oh my goodness.
Lover, I will be right here.
Okay.
So have
The
no
Ethernet makes it
fear.
go longer.
Come on,
Ethernet.
Yes,
Dr.
that's
Nisha,
our
jump in.
song. Sagina always
Come on,
comes with
Nisha.
that song.
Your bed is calling.
She don't
Sweet
even know that song.
lover, I will be right here.
You know I know that
So
song.
have no fear. Woo! I can feel your
Okay.
body flexing. Cause you're horny,
All
baby.
right.
Woo!
Okay. So anyway, I'm very close. Y'all, good night. I'm ending the
Good
broadcast now.
night. Peace
So
All right,
thank
out.
y'all
thank
for
you
coming
so
to
much,
heckle.
Steph, for coming and sharing with us. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm
Good
sorry for
night,
you.
Niambi.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night
Good
till
night,
we meet again.
everyone.
All right then. Good night.
Good night, Queens.
Good night, ma'am.
Good night.